Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to get you styled up with Stitch Fix. Shopping's hard. It's hard. With Stitch Fix, you get a stylist, though, who understands your style, your size, your budget, and they do all the shopping for you.
Wow.
This is excellent. Shopping, I'm telling you, shopping and figure out your style, it's overwhelming. Let somebody help you when it comes to getting dressed. We don't know what we're doing, so we let Stitch Fix help us out. A Stitch Fix stylist there. They know what works on us. We get the prices that make us look really good, and it feels good. You get some confidence boost walking around knowing that you're looking decent here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we just give the stylist our sizes, style, budget preferences. We order boxes when we want, how we want, no subscription or any of that required. And they send called Just For Me pieces as well. Like, maybe you'd like this, and it's awesome. Outfit recommendations, styling tips. You keep what you love, you send back the rest. It's super easy.
Yep.
You can do it, and we are doing it because it's excellent. Personal styling for everyone. Get started today at stitchfix.com/STM. That's stitchfix.com/STM.
Now back to the show.
Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show and tell you about Noom. Has Noom helped you? I believe it has.
Oh, that's got an app. You can do tracking. It's terrific.
It does. And Noom builds personal plans that can meet individual needs. That's the thing. Takes into account any dietary restrictions, medical issues, other personal needs. That helps build a plan that works for you. And yes, so I know that you've had your own personalized program here that you've been working on. And
it's weight loss This is weight loss results that last. They stick around because you get yourself into a lifestyle change. That's what matters.
That's mainly it. You can't just say, I'm going to cut that out for a month and then go back to it. That's not what it is. So I'm glad it's helping you. That's great. And it really does. I like the psychology and biology-based approach here. Yeah. Noom Weight uses psychology. That's why they say losing weight starts with your brain, but it also takes into account your unique biological factors, Jimmy. All of your multitude flora and fauna that goes on inside of you there.
Sure. Yeah.
Stay focused on what's important to you with Noom's psychology and biology-based approach. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com, Noom.com here. Based on 3.5-year study of actively engaged Noom users with minimum starting BMI of 25. Individual results may vary. Visit our website for more information.
Thumbtack presents the ins and outs for caring for your home. Out. Indecision, overthinking, second-guessing every choice you make. In. Plans and guides that make it easy to get home projects done. Out. Beige on beige on beige. In. Knowing what to do, when to do it, and who to hire. Start caring for your home with confidence. Download Thumbtack today.
This week, in Borrego Springs, California, a very sick person with a very sick plot lures his prey into a dangerous situation where about the worst things imaginable happen. And this isn't his first time. Welcome to Small Town Murder. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Small Town Murder.
Yay!
Yay, indeed, Jimmy. Yay, indeed. My name is James Pietragallo. I'm here with my co-host.
I am Jimmy Whisman.
Thank you, folks, so much for joining us this week. We are excited, as always, for another crazy. This is nuts. This one's kind of. It's been on the schedule for a few months, and I've looked at it and went, "Oh boy, it's that one coming up, huh? Oh man, this is a crazy episode." It is just insane. So thank everybody for joining us. First of all, thank you for your reviews this week. Apple Podcasts, that purple icon, they help. So give us 5 stars if you can. It does. It helps. I don't know why, but it does. Also, head over to shutupandgivememurder.com right now, where you can get all sorts of stuff. Merchandise. You can get tickets for live shows that I have our fingers crossed harder than you can imagine that they happen. So please get your tickets for those. Everything else like that. Your information for crime and sports as well. You should listen to that if you don't. We had a wild this week's episode. An athlete picked up a freshman and hit another freshman with him. That's literally one of his crimes.
Hit a motherfucker with a motherfucker. That's what somebody said on Twitter.
Yeah, that's the meme that's always out there. So that's basically what he did. Check that out and all that. Also check out P.S. I Hate This Movie because I had to watch Mamma Mia and that was really disturbing. So
I just found out what it is.
I don't want to listen to ABBA songs anymore, Jimmy, ever. Check all that out. And Patreon is cooking right now.
Boy, oh boy.
There are some good episodes that we put up this week, and if you subscribe to Patreon, you get access to everything. Crime and Sports is bonus, Small Town Murders bonus, the whole back catalog of bonuses. This week we put up, for Crime and Sports, funny off-field injuries. Yeah. Now, it sounds mean, but when you hear what people do while they have millions of dollars in contracts, and they're like, nah, I'm going to do this crazy thing. You believe me, you don't feel as bad for them, so check that out. And then Small Town Murder we did crazy Florida murders and weird crimes, and it really lived up to the reputation.
It sure did.
It really did. It was wild stuff. So Patreon.com/crime and sports is where you get everything, just access to everything, anyone over the $5 level. And then, so yes, patreon.com/crime and sports. Right. And in addition to that, the amazing bonus content, you also get a shout out at the end of the show because, you've earned our undying gratitude. Yeah. So Jimmy will mispronounce your name terribly while trying to pronounce it properly. So that's what you get for that, and we'll be excited to do that. So thank you for everyone that's done that. And if you just want to make a donation and get your shout out, you can do that at PayPal using our email address, crimeandsports@gmail.com.
Right.
Quickly, the disclaimer. Got to get to the show. We have a lot of it, but this is a comedy show. Yeah. It definitely is. It's also a murder show. Yeah. So yes, these things happen. We're not making things up to make it comedic or anything like that. And at the same time, we're not going to hear of some horrible murder and then the skin was removed from the body and we're like, oh, that's hilarious. And that's not what we're doing here. There's plenty of stuff that goes on around a murder that's not the actual killing that's very funny. Like the idea of I can get away with murder. That's pretty funny when someone decides that that's going to be their plan. So we're going to make fun of those type of people. What we're not going to do, what we're going to go out of our way not to do, is we're not going to make fun of the victim or the victim's families.
Why?
Because we're assholes. But we're not scumbags.
There you go.
There you go. That's how that works. If that sounds good to you, you're going to hear a wild, crazy story and have a good time. And if it doesn't, if you think true crime and comedy should never go together, maybe we're not for you. Maybe we are, though. I just don't want to hear any bitching later. So that said, I think it's time to sit back, clear the lungs, and shout, Shut up
and give me murder.
All right. Very good. Let's go on a trip, Jimmy. Shall we?
I'm surprised we're not going on a trip right now.
Let's do it. Going on a trip. We're coming from Michigan last week up north, and now we're going to go out west again. We're going to be bouncing back and forth across the country. We're going to California.
Hell yeah.
It's been a long time since we've been to California here. This is Southern California.
Wow.
But not like, don't think of like beaches and, bikini Southern California. This is Think east of that. This is the desert. This is the desert area. Okay. This is not good. Yeah. God-forsaken, horrific, space
Imperial
level.
Valley. It's bad.
Space level desert. Yeah. It's about an hour and 45 minutes to San Diego.
Okay.
So it's there. About 2 hours and 40 minutes to L.A.
All right.
And about 9 hours all the way up to Antelope, California. Our last California episode, which was episode 167. This is 234. Yeah. April 15th, 2020. So quite a long time ago here.
What is this place called?
It's Borrego Springs, California. It's very small. It's in the middle of a big state park. It's in San Diego County, area code 442. And it's just, like I said, it's Beetlejuice desert, like, stepping out of the house. And they even have there's even a sandworm sculpture. We'll talk about it. Motto in this town.
Yeah.
A little bit, a little cheeky, little nod to maybe some lost tourists quote. Yeah. And you thought you were going to the beach. No.
Not that California.
There's sand, but there's no ocean connected to it. It's just sand.
You're about 6 million years too late.
Yep, sorry. Almost. You just missed it. So, history of this town here, very quickly, because we have a lot of story to get to. This village is located on the floor of the Borrego Valley, which is widely, it's the westernmost extent of the Sonoran Desert. Oh. So you're on the western edge of the Sonoran Desert here before it turns into that, toward the beach, Southern California, where there's like trees and trees and even scrub oaks, just something like not just barren.
Any sign of tropical wildlife and climate.
Exactly. It's recognized, Borrego Springs, as a designated international dark sky community.
What does that mean?
By the International Dark Sky Association.
Oh,
which sounds like, well, it sounds like people are going to definitely get diddled, is what it sounds like. But it's not that. It's that there's no stop.
Sounds to me like tinfoil hats, James.
No, it sounds like there's actually no stoplights in the town.
Wow.
And at nighttime, lighting is kept to a minimum to protect the views of the night sky. Okay. It's a place where you can go and look at the stars, basically.
Where you get fined if your porch light is on.
Yeah, there's light pollution there, so you can be fined for light pollution. You've put light into the air.
Fine and lightning bugs and shit.
Meanwhile, it's in the middle of the desert. If you drove 5 minutes out of town, you're in the middle of the desert. There's not a light to be seen. The sky, you'll see every star that's ever existed.
Remember
you'll
we
see
drove
stars
back
that
from
died.
L.A. After doing that show with Dan in Hollywood,
nothing.
and we pulled over, and there was fucking nothing. I pissed, like not even turned away from the road.
There was nothing there. We turned off, and it was like a movie. Like there's just nothing. It was just some concrete that just ended into sand, and that was it. We were like, okay, I guess this is where you stop. So they used the area east of town. Apparently, it was used in World War II for a Navy training center.
Okay.
And they had the Borrego Valley Maneuver Area. And after World War II, finally electricity arrived in 1945.
Jesus God.
1945, I just said, is when electricity arrived.
There's a nuclear bomb being dropped on other countries. They don't have electricity.
There was already television in 1945. Like that had just started and was going out there. We figured out how to split an atom and project an image into your living room, and they still didn't have a light to turn on in this entire place. That is wild. They have something called Christmas Circle, which is like this big circle where everything happens in, where it's like a road with a big round area in the middle. I don't know. So sculptor Ricardo Brasida has made more than 100 large metal statues of animals that can be found at Gaeta Meadows Estates. Okay. And they have different themes. A lot of them are prehistoric animals like dinosaurs and shit like that. And other ones are desert things. They have like one where there's like a big scorpion and like a big other bug about like squaring off about to fight. And they're like metal. They're huge metal. Another one's a huge sand dragon, they call it, but it's the sandworm from Beetlejuice. Okay. So I don't know if Beetlejuice got it from here or if he put it in, because I think it's Beetlejuice. Tim Burton got it from this place.
Really?
Because at one point I'll post it on the social media on the post of that, and it's it looks exactly like a shot from Beetlejuice at one point. It's exactly like it. I
suppose you just got to find
half in, half out.
The build date of the worm versus print
was
of Beetlejuice.
Pre or post 1987 or whatever it was. That's it. So reviews of this town here they're weird, these reviews. The 5-star review it sounds like snarky. It's very strange. 3 stars here. Quote, I've lived here for 15 plus years, and if you're looking forward to the desert. Okay, that's a weird line. Borrego Springs has a first-person point of view at desert. In the months of May through August, the temperatures rise up to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Months of September through April, when it has cool weather. That's 3 stars. Yeah, so I don't know.
In the summer, it's hot. In the winter, not so much.
That's pretty much it.
Desert, man.
2 stars. In the winter, it's fairly cool and pleasant, spelled wrong. But in the summer, that's when the heat waves and sandstorms hit us hard.
Yeah.
So that doesn't sound good.
Like everywhere. What?
And here's the 5-star review, which sounds sarcastic. It's very weird. 5 stars, mind you. Quote, I love how intimate and caring my hometown of Borrego is. Although there may not be many opportunities while in high school, the opportunities once you leave are endless. That's not a compliment to your town.
Once you leave high school or once you leave the town?
I feel like once you leave the town, because listen to this. I read it like high school at first, then I read the rest of it, and I'm like, is this person like, did they think 5 is bad?
Are they fucking
1 is good? This community supports you in the decisions you choose to make with your life. I do not believe you can find such loving and caring people anywhere else. Fun is only a drive away. I don't know whether you like this place or not, but...
All right.
Can't have fun here, and there's no opportunity,
right.
But it's terrific.
Fun is only
5 stars.
Outside this town. That's all.
5 stars.
Love it.
People of this town, population 2,077. Damned souls here. Down 7% since 1990.
Wow.
And this is a place where you definitely have to really like this area, this type of thing. Right. I want to be in an isolated little town in the middle of the desert, and I'll love it, or else you'd fucking lose your mind and blow your brains out here. Female and male populations are pretty normal, but the age is very high. Median age here, 59.
Yeah.
Which normally it's almost 38 in the rest of the country. So the demographics, tons of people over 65.
Really?
But there's also a lot of kids here, too. So there's some young people that have moved in. And I think it's because it's affordable. And there's nothing really within 2 hours of San Diego that's affordable.
No, there's not. No.
The market. So I think some young families have kind of moved out to here just because it's the only place they could afford. And married population's high. It's like 55%. So it's mainly kind of that family kind of a thing here. Single with no children, Jimmy.
Yeah.
2.4%.
Oh, my.
Wow, good luck with that needle in that haystack.
Yeah.
Enjoy. Now, race of this town, it's about 75% white, 6% black.
Yeah.
Which for the middle of the desert, that's more black people than I expected, to be honest, in a weird little town in the desert. But for, that's still half of average, and 15.6% Hispanic. So it's, more diverse than you'd expect for a tiny desert hamlet. 45% of the people here are religious. I don't know if there's half the people think there's no God in the desert and the other half see God in the desert.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Those people just need a glass of water.
Yeah. They're just seeing mirages and
they're
shit.
just very thirsty.
27% Catholic out of this. So
is that
just,
right?
Man, Catholics are the Baptists of the Southwest Sonoran desert lands, apparently.
Southern Cal.
Wow, very strange. So many Catholics. 0.6% Jewish. Almost.
Yeah.
Almost. 1.5% Eastern faith. So that would be like Buddhism and things like that. Right. And that's a lot of the people, too, are kind of a lot of hippies are out in this area. And 0.7% Islam. So, like I said, more diverse than most little desert towns. It's in San Diego County, so last election, it goes in with that. 60% voted Democrat, 37% Republican, 2% Independent. Unemployment rate's about normal with the rest of the country somehow out here. Household income, though, a little bit low.
Okay.
Normally, it's about $57,500. Here, $38,264.
A little bit, James.
That's very low.
Fuck.
Yeah, that's $20,000 under. That's bad stuff.
Yeah,
that's tough. And the jobs here very strange. Normally, the rest of the country, 1.3% of the jobs are agriculture, forestry, fishing, and hunting. Yeah. Here, it's 18.3% of the jobs. So I don't know if that counts as like people who work at the state park that's right there.
Yeah.
That might be that. I'm
gathering brush for firewood.
Yeah. Well, gathering either that or gathering wood for the 20.7% of the people who do construction here.
Yeah.
So, which you just have to fix things that are in the sun and the dry for that long.
Yeah.
In Phoenix, your house just rots away because it's just being eaten by the sun.
Right. People in the Midwest and in New England, like your roads disintegrate from snow and such, but the heat
freezes and then does it, so it contracts.
The fuck out of a road.
Oh yeah. Oh, heat's bad for it too. The road never melts in New York. It just doesn't. It never melts. You're never like, don't drive there. Your tires will sink in. No one's ever said that to you. Nothing that didn't have water on it. You know what I mean? That's crazy. But I've heard that in Phoenix before.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Don't drive on that asphalt. Your tires will sink in.
Getting to be summertime, watch out for road gators, and that's the just tire skins that are fucking everywhere because tires explode. Yeah.
18-wheeler tires,
right.
Yeah. So cost of living in this town is 100 is regular average. Here it is 103, which is low for California, which is a 150 overall for the whole state. So
very high for middle of nowhere where nobody makes any goddamn money.
For the desert, and they didn't get electricity until, Hitler was dead. It's different. So median home cost here. Hitler never said they got electricity in that town, did they? He never said that because he was dead before it happened. Median home cost $214,200, which is slightly below. And if we've convinced you that you need to head on out here and see a metal sculpture of a scorpion fighting a cockroach, we have for you the Borrego Springs, California Real Estate Report. The average two-bedroom rental here is $1,480, which is expensive. That's expensive, but it's cheaper to buy a house, proportionality.
That's the highest rental we've ever heard.
Yeah, well, no, there's been in Connecticut.
Has there?
And in Long Island we had one. I found 5.58 acres of land. It's sand. It's actual sand. Yeah. And I don't mean like dirt like Phoenix. I'm talking sand like you get in a bucket and build a castle out of. $3,998. Under $4,000 for 6 acres of land.
You're not what?
Acres. Yeah.
You didn't say 100 in there anywhere.
No. If you just you could build a nice dirt bike track on that if you lived in San Diego. You $4,000 and go out there on the weekends with your kids and do jumps and shit. I guess that's pretty good.
You can buy a 60-inch TV or 5 acres of land.
Or 5 acres. Yeah, $3,998. I found 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,394 foot. It's a trailer. It's like a double wide, but it's one of those that's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
it's got like a porch built onto it.
It's there for a while. Yeah,
$30,750.
This is unbelievable.
So that's not bad. Then I found a 4-bedroom, 6-bath.
Yeah.
Let's say you really dominate the night sky. 4,660 square feet.
Hell yeah.
Big old house, 6-car garage.
Oh my!
And a giant lap pool. This lap pool is as long as the house. It's wild. This
an
giant
Olympic pool.
Like an Olympic-sized pool. $1,975,000. Less than 1 acre of desert, by the way, you get for that.
Really?
So it's not even a big lot. It's just a big house. Mm-hmm. It's strange. Things to do in this town. You can do it this year in October 2021.
Maybe.
Borrego Days Desert Festival.
You can do that all the time.
Sign up.
Pandemic be damned. Get out there.
Yep. Just go sit in the desert.
It doesn't matter.
Whatever the wind is blowing around out there, spores and dust particles is going to be more lethal than really anything. But I don't care. I'd rather have syphilis than sit in the desert for that long. Never mind anything else. So, get on out there. Location is at Christmas Circle. Like we said, everything happens there. Now, I found an about with Borrego Days. Live entertainment, beer garden, car show, children's area, arts and crafts, food sites, vendors, blah, blah, blah. Here's the pitch. Resort to nature. That's the pitch here. At the annual Borrego Days Desert Festival and Parade, the Borrego Days Desert Festival brings together the best parts of this gorgeous desert town. Beautiful art, world-class hospitality, lovely weather, desert blooms, and, of course, family fun.
It's close enough I may give it a run.
It's a free festival. It's all free. Let's see here. What is this? Oh, Borrego Days Parade. They also, I saw there was Miss Borrego Days. There was like some teenage girl with a sash on the thing with a crown on her head. I was like, oh, no. Wander through the rows of booths and enjoy talented artists, a large variety of one-of-a-kind goods, refreshing cold brews, and beverage gardens. Okay. Oh, my God. Live music will get you in the groove to dance away your day in the shade. Because it's going to be hot.
They're close enough to L.A. to book good talent. Who do they have, James?
That's bad, man. Who the fuck knows? Borrego Days Parade as it steps at 10 a.m. A multi-plane flyover, Jimmy.
Oh.
You're going to have a multi-plane fly, like a bunch of crop dusters from your half broken down. It's a free event, so I don't know what
Fred's going to get his 47 working.
He's got it good. I'm telling you. I told him not to dump poison onto the people, though, while they're eating their fried Twinkies and such.
Off the switches, Fred.
Yes.
Last time we all got maced.
Stop with the, county fair beauty pageants, please, for the love of God.
It's got to go away, right?
When you see a bunch of old fat guys standing there staring at a 15-year-old going, yep, she sure is pretty. Why are we doing this? What are we
George, you
doing?
raised them right. That one looks good.
That one looks real good. Got a behind like the wife, I'll tell you. No. Just, it creeps me out.
When you're talking about the farmer grows them good, and they're talking about his daughter, that's disgusting.
He's like, which one did I grow good? Did I grow my pig or my daughter? Because they both want a ribbon today. So
gross.
They both want a nice sash I'm going to put up in my living room. That is disgusting. Yeah. So, oh my God. Here we go. Admire the beauty of classic cars as they roll through town and wave enthusiastically to catch the eye of the queens and their courts. What the fuck is happening? The queens and their courts.
You're courting the queen with your 56 Chevy?
Is there some sort of weird mating ritual that has to do with classic cars and monarch fantasies? I don't know what's happening right now.
Lattice Exhaust gets to fuck her this year.
I guess so. She's waving. Hi. Crime rate, I guess. What we're interested in.
Beat me by 2 decibels.
Right?
Almost got a blowjob.
Crime rate, I suppose, here. Yeah. Property crimes about 1/3 high. Not very high. And then the violent crime rate, murder, rape, robbery, and of course assault, the Mount Rushmore of crime, is exactly the national average.
Really?
to the point. Yeah, it's strange. They're like, don't kill any more people. We're going to go over the average.
We got our quota.
Mm-hmm. What it looks like. So that said, let's talk about a murder.
Oh boy,
let's get into this because my God, is this just a twisted mess here. Mm-hmm. To really get into this, we have to start in 1977.
Okay.
The story starts before that, and it goes well after that. But let's just start in 77, and then we'll jump around and we'll tell you all about this. So 1977, let's talk about a guy. He is 48 years old in 1977.
Okay.
So he's born in 29.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's an older fella.
Did he grow up here?
In the United States?
No, in this town.
In California, he grows up. He grows up in Southern California, but not in this town.
Got it.
No, this town only has a brief part to play in this murder here. But his name is Fred Berry, I guess, or Bear, but I'm assuming it's Berry for some reason. Douglas. It's Berre is his middle name, and then Douglas is his last name. So Fred Douglas, he is an upholstery shop owner.
Okay.
Which gives me immediately, when I read a murder case, and anyone involves an upholstery shop owner, I go immediately Angelo Bono thoughts, and I'm like, what the fuck?
I pray to Christ you never get a tear in a car seat because you're like, now I got to go see a serial killer.
Never. I will burn a car before I take it to an upholsterer. Anyone who does upholstery on a car, I don't care if you're a listener, I'm worried about you, and I want to check your basement and your backyard because I've just never heard of anybody upholstering anything, of like a car. And the only people I hear it is Angelo Bono, this guy, and some guy in the mafia that Richard Kuklinski used to give his cars to completely strip down and clean and, put new seats in and shit after he shot a guy in it and got brains on them.
They're all problems.
So, they're all a problem. Apparently, if you give an upholstery guy $100, he'll clean up brains. That's a guy I don't want to fucking be involved with. It's just too much.
And then the wolf in Pulp Fiction seemed to be pretty good at it, too.
I'm sure he was very good at upholstery. I'm sure if you tore your seat, he could fix it.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So, and this is also in 1977, and he's doing it in Costa Mesa as opposed to Angelo Bono up in Glendale, California. So it's, they're living parallel simultaneous lives here. He lives in Costa Mesa. He's been married for almost 30 years.
Wow.
There's another thing that's like a similar. Angelo Bono wasn't married for 30 years, but he always had a wife. He had 6 wives by the time he was done here. So he always had a wife hanging around somewhere. He needs help is what Fred needs. Fred would like to find a young woman to help him with a project he's working on. And he does this because in addition to being an upholsterer, he fancies himself an amateur photographer as well. This story just it's like Angelo Bono and Leonard Lake raised some hell seed.
Or Rodney Alcala.
And they got this guy is what it is, because he's got all the trappings. So he's going to find this woman now to help him. Now, at first, he tells her, look, I need help. It's not a big deal, but it's hard to approach. I'm a 48-year-old guy, and I need to approach young women, so I need a young woman to wingman it, you know? But he needs to find women to pose for him for pictures. In basically, he wants he wants lesbian pics. He wants to sell girl on girl stuff is what he's looking for. So in the 70s, pictures of any girl on girl stuff you could sell to people. It's not like now where it's like, big deal.
It's super mainstream now.
Yeah, it's super mainstream. Yeah, every movie star, there's a picture of her like fingering her best friend. Like it's no big deal. Like they put it. They were the ones who put it on Instagram too. Like, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Every girl in
don't.
College. You can't revenge porn that girl. She has that on her Facebook page.
Yeah, no one gives a shit.
No.
Now with a girl, they don't care. Like it's not like, oh God, she made out with a girl. Like no one cares whether
Katy Perry made that shit mad acceptable.
Yeah, and it's like whether they're actually lesbians or they're just experimenting or whatever. Like no one
they're
gives.
Just at the
no
Matchbox 20
either.
concert.
Yeah, and if you do care, I don't know what planet you're on.
You?
What do you give a shit? Right. Yeah, what bad is going to come of this? So, the woman that he finds is Pamela Sue Williams.
Okay,
is her name. She doesn't tell him that though. She gives him a false name. Because of the way they met, she gave him a false name right off the bat and then just kind of stuck with it once she found out what he was all about, too. They met in July of 1977 when she was hitchhiking in Santa Ana, California.
Yeah, never give that guy your name.
That's what I mean. An older guy like that, he's like, hey, what's your name? You want to help me find girls for pictures? Like, that's...
None of your fucking business, and no.
Yeah. So what's my name? Debbie Adams is my name. That's what she told him. Nice to meet you, Debbie Adams. Yeah. Not telling you my fucking name.
Yeah.
That guy too, you have him drop you off like 2 blocks from where you're going.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's right over here. Yeah, drop me off here, and it's like a block down and over.
You don't even have clothes with you.
Yeah, no, it's my friend lives above it. Don't worry about it. This is where I'm going.
Yeah.
So he gave her they went to a bar. So they ended up, I've heard this so many times, like in the 70s, people would meet while they were hitchhiking in like non-murder situations. Right. Even like they would meet and like, oh, I met this guy while they were hitchhiking, and then they're friends for 20 years. Like it's the weirdest shit in the 70s. Yeah. You just meet people and you'd be like, well, since we're driving, you want to stop for a drink? Yeah, sure, buddy, no problem. Yeah. What the that would never happen now in a million years. Imagine if you pitch you'd be just staring at him the whole time, like, don't stab me, don't stab me. Here you go, get the fuck out of my car. Whew, he didn't stab me.
I got the guy's name and license plate number in my Uber app. I still don't want to talk to him.
Yeah, we know who he is. I got ratings on him.
Yeah.
There's a button I can press to tell on him immediately. Like, still, I'm a little leery, but this is like, yeah, sure, I'll have a drink with you. She's brave, first of all, Pamela Sue Williams. Anyway, they ended up sitting. They have a couple of drinks in a bar for about 2 hours.
Oh, boy.
That's longer than a date. That's like a long...
They both got a lot of free time.
That's getting to know you. That's the other thing. No one has anywhere to be.
Right. You have some shit to do somewhere?
You're on the road just looking for a ride, and I'm in a car just wandering, I guess. Were you not going to a destination?
It's a pretty nice day you got.
Fuck were you going? So anyway, they talk. He gives her $50 after about 2 hours in a bar. I don't know if she's hard on her luck or whatever, but he ends up giving her $50. Okay. I think it's mainly to show that he's like, it's to, just to endear him to her.
Sure.
Basically, like, oh yeah, see, you can trust me. Here's some money. I'm a nice guy. So at that point, after the $50 and after talking for a couple hours, he switched it up a little bit. he said, yeah, we're going to find these girls and they can, they don't have to actually like to make out with each other, just as long as they can do it on camera and I can take a few stills of it. Because it's not even video. It's still frame shit.
Right.
So, I'm going to take some pics and all that sort of thing. And he goes, but you know what? I think let's do it this way, though. He goes, because that would be boring. There's a lot of pictures of that. He goes, tell you what I'll do. Instead of that, what we'll do is we'll have these girls perform a sex act, and then we'll kill them in the middle of it. Oh, and I'll take pictures of that while we're killing them, and then we'll kill them, we'll murder them, and then I'll take pictures, snuff photos, and then we'll sell these and we'll make a bunch of money. Yeah. And he said, I'll pay you $1,000 if you find the girls for me, and also do the murdering because I'm the one taking pictures. I can't be actually like hacking somebody up and taking pictures at the same time. Obviously, I'm not some
That is a
this is what BTK lacked, was a photographer.
Right.
This is the problem with him. He would, take the camera and take all these like weird selfies on the site and
Polaroid selfies.
He didn't think I'll find a hitchhiker and pay her $1,000 and have her do photo sessions. This is fucking insane.
Because even he was like, that is the hardest sell on earth. I'm not that good of selling anything.
No, but $1,000, that's ballsy.
Yeah.
So he told her also during this that he goes, I want to do this. First of all, I think this will be a good, you got to work, you got to do your 10,000 hours is the thing. So you can't, I want to work my way up to movies, but I can't just jump into that. I have no experience. Right. I'll start out with the stills, get a buzz going, and then I can jump into a different form of media. Yeah. He says, and what I'd like to do eventually, if you want to be on board with me and make some more money, is, sell those pictures and then use that money to make a snuff film. Yeah. He said this will be good because you could find the women, obviously. And he said, actually, but not really women. I'm more looking for, 13, 14-year-old girls really would be ideal.
This is getting so much worse.
He said, I'll settle for, if you have to, go up to 25. If you have to, but preferably, comb the middle schools first. And if there's no luck there, if it's not recess, then, just head over to the strip club instead or something. I don't know what he's talking about.
Youthful 25-year-old that can pass for barely legal.
This is a crazy, obviously this is we're being sarcastic, but this is a sick, insane, monstrous, there's not enough adjectives for it plan. This is
out of the realm of reality by far.
Crazy. And if it is reality, oh my God, is it scary as shit. This isn't, the scariest thing you could ever think of. So he said, look, it's not just finding the girls here, Debbie Adams. Yeah. So it's not just finding the girls. Yeah, I need you to find the girls, but then we need to get out there. And you're the one, you're going to have to cut them up and stuff for me so I can take pictures of it. Like I said, I'm the cameraman, and you'll get $1,000 every time. He said, once we get a film made, we can send that film to Canada for developing. Because, apparently the Canadian film development was wide open back then. You could just send them anything and they'd make it
addresses for criminals.
They just go, oh, here's a movie, eh? And then they just process it for you and send it right back.
Yeah.
Oh, let's do it, eh? We don't want to ask any questions. That'd be impolite. No, that's not how it goes. And then he said, we'll distribute it in the United States from Mexico. He said it's complicated. There's the mafias involved. It's very complicated, the whole thing. It's how it is.
Well, this involved the entire continent of North America in this.
It's a lot. Yeah, all the countries. This is why he was the first proponent of NAFTA, as a matter of fact. I didn't realize it, but he was the North American Free Trade Agreement.
Got it. Okay.
It's a thing, so there's more.
I'm done.
Yeah, sorry. That was a really good joke, and if you knew what NAFTA was, you would have.
Don't go throwing government acronyms at me, James. How dare you?
That was a good one. Fuck. I went over my audience's head on that one. Shit, I shouldn't do that. I try to keep it to a certain level of I read some, and then every once in a while I fuck up and fucking.
James, I'm still back at FBI and CIA. Slow down with these 5-letter ones. I've barely got a handle on NORAD. Slow down.
It's not an agency. It's a agreement thing.
Right.
So
that's what I'm saying. I'm at agencies, not at treaties and shit.
Yeah. Well, all right. I'll get back to you in a couple of years with NAFTA, and we'll talk about it. We'll do a bonus episode on NAFTA. No, we're not doing a. We're absolutely not.
Only reason I've got NAMBLA is because it's hilarious.
Yeah, that people would be like, I'm gonna join that. What? That's the crazy part of NAMBLA, that it would exist. And what kind of sandwiches are we gonna give him? I don't know. So
probably PB&J's.
So she decides that she's going to do this.
Okay.
And she must need the money. And she decides she's going to, gonna do that. He said there's a movie that I have that was made in South America where most of these are made where, they kill a woman. And he goes, so I have this thing and this is what we're doing. And, I know it's a hot seller on the black market here. So she ends up finding two women and makes plans for them to go to. He has an isolated cabin in the Yucca Valley.
Oh, of course he does.
30 miles north of Palm Springs. So she says, hi, two strangers. Yeah. There's a man whom you don't know. He's going to pay you some money if you come with me to an isolated cabin in the Yucca Valley, 30 miles north of Palm Springs, for a girl-on-girl photo session. Seems legit, right? If a friend of yours, some woman came up to you at that store, you'd go, yeah, sounds good. I'll talk to you tomorrow. You want to grab some lunch? No follow-up questions required.
You know how remote Joshua Tree is? More remote than that.
You keep driving. Make a left. Bang a fucking left and keep going. Wow, 30 miles north of Palm Springs, which is just a city in the middle of the fucking desert. There's nothing. You drive in, there's nothing. Here's Palm Springs, and then it's gone. That's it. That's the whole thing.
Stars go to Palm Springs for the
anonymity.
You get it.
Yeah. That's why Frank Sinatra lived there.
It's much more anonymous than that.
Yeah, totally. It's the middle of the desert. I've seen Frank Sinatra's grave actually out there, too.
Is it there?
Yeah, it's in Palm Springs.
You told me that last time we were there shopping for weed.
That's right. Yeah, we stopped at the weed place, and I told you, I could find it if I got to the cemetery again. It's just a little plaque. It's not even a lot.
One of these days, James.
One of these days, we're going to stop. So anyway, on a Wednesday, they decide, let's do this. And old Fred Douglas drives Debbie Adams, Pamela Sue Williams in real life, who he thinks is Debbie Adams, and the two women that they've recruited up to the cabin. Here, it's on a remote dirt road, by the way, this cabin. You have to turn off and drive through the desert on this dirt road and everything like that. And before they got in the car, though, Fred didn't want to scare these women away. He wanted them to be very comfortable. So he had a .38 pistol that he said he was going to keep, just in case he has to force these women to do what he wants. Yeah. So he has Debbie Adams hold it, though, because he's like, I don't want to scare them. If you have a pistol, hey, there's a girl alone in the world. You know what I mean? You're protecting yourself. They'll understand. But if I have a pistol, I'm now a creepy old man in an isolated cabin on a dirt road 30 miles north of Palm Springs with a pistol who wants to take fucking girl-on-girl pictures of you.
It's a good thought.
It's scarier, yeah. So he says, I don't want to freak him out. Here you go. Keep my gun, okay? So they get out of the cabin. They get inside. And once they get inside, Debbie Adams, Pamela Sue Williams, takes out his .38, and both the women also take out their own pistols because they're undercover police officers.
Oh, well done, ladies.
They're not. It's like Charlie's Angels just busted him now. Now he's got three women with their guns out on him, and they're going, hey, motherfucker. And after about 5 minutes, sheriffs and deputies from San Bernardino and Orange County come rushing in, and it turns into the whole place is, imagine the dust cloud, by the way, that this caused. All of these cop cars racing in here to save their female colleagues. Yeah. Oh, my God, from this psycho fucking creep. Oh, Jesus, man. It must have been a dust cloud. Hey, everybody. Just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you about the safest sponsor ever, Simply Safe. Absolutely. These people will keep you safe. It's amazing. You know that every 26 seconds a burglary takes place in the United States, according to the FBI. That means that by the time this podcast is over, dozens and dozens of homes will have been targeted, ransacked. God knows what happens here. So protect your home before it's too late with Simply Safe proactive security system. Simply Safe helps stop threats before they even have a chance to break in. Named Best Home Security System by U.S. News and World Report 5 years in a row. And by us for about the last 8 years as well. If you trust us, believe me, you want Simply Safe. So visit simplysafe.com/small to claim 50% off a new system with professional monitoring plan and your first month free. That's simplysafe.com/small. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Now back to the show.
This show, Small Town Murder, is brought to you by BetterHelp. Get yourself some therapy, everybody. Honestly, here. We often hear about, red flags that you should avoid. Hey, that's a lot of a thing. It's become a real phrase now, real cliche. Yeah. But why don't you focus also, you look at like green flags in friends and partners. Look for good things as well. Right. And maybe you're not sure what that looks like, though. Therapy can help you figure that out. What are positive things? What are the green flags? And then you can practice them in your relationship. It's absolutely a fact. And so, honestly, we absolutely are huge advocates for this. It really, really helps. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable. It's convenient. They serve over 5 million people worldwide. You can access a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists, wide ranges of specialties there. Here's the coolest part. You're not getting along with your therapist, you're just not feeling it, you can switch at any time, no extra charge.
Wow.
The thing is, they want you to get help. That's it. And you can do it with BetterHelp. Discover your relationship green flags with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/smalltownmurder today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show and tell you all sorts of good stuff about Chime. That's what I'm talking about. There's so many extra fees you have to pay in life. Everything. You go to the airline, there's an extra ticket on that. There's extra fee on every fees and fees, hotels, fees, all this type of stuff. We're trying to make progress, and the next thing you know, here comes another fee coming at you, and it's more money than you expected, and your whole math is thrown off, and it's awful. Learn more at chime.com/smalltownmurder. Chime is great with that stuff. I mean, you can't beat if your things are a little tight, especially around the holidays or after the holidays. Yeah. You need that money a couple days early, or you go grocery shopping. You got a car payment due. There's so many things that don't cross over exactly how you want them to cross over. Make progress toward a better financial future with Chime. Open your account in 2 minutes at chime.com/smalltownmurder. That's chime.com/smalltownmurder. Feels like progress. Banking services and debit cards provided by Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A., members FDIC. Spot me eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Boosts are available to eligible Chime members enrolled in Spot Me and are subject to monthly limits. Timing depends on submission of payment file. Fees apply at out-of-network ATMs.
And now back to the show.
So,
looked like the Brendan Fraser and the Mummy were coming.
Yeah, dude, that's exactly what it would look like. It's just a man is going to form from this. It's going to happen. I know it. Fucked up, man. So they, Pamela Sue Williams had thought about it and eventually went to the police with this all before it ended up happening, because she said, once he said, I want 13, 14, 15-year-old girls, she has a 13-year-old daughter.
Nice.
And at that point, at first she thought he was just talking.
Yeah.
And he was like, she was giving him money, or he was giving her money just to hang out. So she's like, I'll take $50 and then listen to this guy be full of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, who cares? So then after a while, though, she got a feeling that this guy was for real, she said. Wow. And she went to the cops, and they said, well, will you help us trap this guy, basically? And, all this shit. And she, ballsy enough, did it. She could have said, fuck you. Yeah. I'm moving to another state, and you guys, good luck with you. I gave you the tip.
Yeah.
I'm not getting involved, but she decided that she would do it. She agreed to wear a tape recording device and introduce 2 police women. They were Baucom and Reynolds were their names, to him as potential victims for the crime here. And when he introduced the policewomen to him, and he just told the policewomen, "Yeah, we want you to do some girl-on-girl stuff. We're making a film in the desert. It's out past Palm Springs." And he offered to pay the girls $500 apiece to participate in about 120 photographs. He said, "We get about 120 pictures so we could sell them." And
$4 a picture? That's not enough.
That's not enough, no. So they had agreed to meet him at the Two Guys parking lot. I don't know what that is, in Garden Grove. Mm-hmm. And, they talked. The next morning, he and Pamela Sue Williams, Debbie Adams, talked for about 20 minutes. The women arrived, the undercover officers, and the whole time, Williams/Adams has been wired. So... Yeah. He's been going over the plan of what we're going to do to them and how we're going to do it and when we're going to spring it, and it's all on tape.
Wow.
And it included, a gruesome discussion by Douglas of his plan to torture and then film his intended victim's agony.
Yuck.
That's what he was going to do.
Good
God. And then sell that shit, which is...
gross.
Wild. During the conversation, he also instructed Williams/Adams on how to tie them up and then gave her the pistol as well. And said, "Put this in your purse and keep that."
Taught her some box knots.
Yep. He told her that he also had a rifle in his car, and so we got that as backup too. And so the agent showed up, the officers showed up, and he drove them off State Highway 247, known as, quote, Old Ghost Road.
Perfect.
Going to take you down Old Ghost Road to go to an isolated cabin in Yucca Valley so I can take girl-on-girl pictures of you.
And then make ghosts out of you.
With my, wow, that is scary.
Yeah.
So all the agencies, all the law office agencies stood by as they went to the cabin, and they all kind of followed from a distance. They got up there, and then they raced up to go there. Now, what they confiscate, he basically dug a bunker outside this cabin. They called it a bunker-like ravine, where he built like a storage. He dug out a big storage thing in the desert and put a tarp over it.
Okay.
So to store things, and in there they found a whole big kit that he had, including handcuffs and ropes and chains and shit like that he had inside the cabin, sexual things that he was going to use for pictures. And they found knives, saws, a cleaver, and basically a bunch of torture equipment were found in a big thing all together. A bunch of shit you would use to torture people.
Yeah.
And I have a picture of the table full of shit, too, and I'll post that on social media as well, because it's
just a
crazy.
Whole. If it was just talk, he wouldn't have all this.
Oh no, he was going to do this.
He's into it.
Yeah, he had a whole kit planned. He dug out a fucking ravine and hid this shit and had everything all set up. Now, in addition to all the potential torture tools here, they also find a .22 caliber rifle that he had in the trunk, a .38 caliber revolver that he gave to Williams/Adams, and inside the house, and this is from the LA Times. A great quote, pornographic books detailing bondage and lesbianism, which sounds like it's like a political stance.
Right.
And a shovel and other digging equipment were found outside the cabin. So, he was planning, his whole plan was to, torture, kill them, dig a hole, dump them in the desert. That was the plan. So, he's... In the newspaper, it says, Douglas, a Garden Grove upholstery shop owner and amateur photographer. Nope. No. No. So he was arraigned. His bail was set at $250,000. And, the informers told, on him the whole deal. Everybody goes to court. And, the whole story comes out where he's going to kill them and everything like that. It was a 6-week investigation that they put this together in. So It was like a big, long thing. Garden Grove Police, San Bernardino Police, Orange County, everybody involved in this shit.
Great.
And the spokesman said, quote, the policewomen women did a tremendous job, and the informant was a great deal of help. She was so convincing that Douglas gave her the .38 caliber pistol he was carrying after she warned him the models would be suspicious if he were armed. She's good.
Yes, she is.
She's fucking good.
Him.
Fuck yeah. So, Yeah, he was. He lived at 276 16th Place before that, and he was booked on. He's booked on attempted murder and conspiracy to commit murder charges.
They got him with attempted, even though there was no act of violence or anything yet. That's pretty impressive.
Because it was planned, I don't know, or if that's just so. In July of 1977, they decide they need to start looking for bodies in this desert because he had told the informant that he's done this before and he's killed women and buried them in the desert before.
Yeah.
So 60 sheriff's deputies were going around the desert in late July, Jimmy.
Yikes.
That's how much they think there's bodies out there.
Right.
If they didn't think that, they'd be like, we can wait till November on this, right? I mean, it's pretty hot out there.
In the 70s?
Yeah, it's hot, man. This is brutal. They said that this is their second attempt to find the bodies of up to 15 victims of what they think he might have. They said, quote, we feel fairly confident with the number of men we had here that the area has been covered pretty well. It was over 110 degrees the day they were doing it, too. Yeah, they said that they don't conclude that there's no bodies in the area. They just couldn't find any. He says, quote, I can't say that. You never know about the desert.
It's true.
Yeah, that's why people like to hide bodies. Yeah, that's why people hide bodies out there because they're hard to fucking find out there. So, he's held on $250,000 bail. The investigators called. They called the whole thing. What is this? Oh, that's right. They took him at gunpoint. They called something he did an overt act when they arrested him too, like he was trying to go for a weapon or something like that. So he says that there's a woman named Diane who said she recruited several of the 15 models that were hired by him for lesbian bondage photographs, which haven't been found. So this is why they're looking for all these people out in the middle of the desert. They said that they were tortured, dismembered, and killed with bone saws. And she said the stuff he had when he was arrested there is the stuff he used to cut the victims up.
Okay.
So that's what they're saying. They said large spikes had been driven into a rafter of the shack to suspend victims as they were tortured to death, basically. Wow. That's what he had going on in his house. So, this is obviously very, very fucking weird here, this whole thing. So they have him see a couple psychiatrists, obviously. Okay. Let's, you want to take a peek inside your melon on this one. So... They said that based on the interview from 1977, they said that he had serious and outstanding mental illness and possible organic impairment.
Outstanding.
So he's fucked up. He might have brain damage. He's got all sorts of shit. He found that Douglas was confused, thought process was chaotic, and that he suffered from severe paranoia. He believed the test results indicated, quote, some level of pre-existing neurological deficit. Okay. So some sort of brain injury, which may have interacted with brain damage later in life stemming from his chronic alcoholism, constant exposure to toxic solvents in connection with his furniture refinishing business. Remember fucking Richard Ramirez's mom with that goddamn Tony Lama shop on our bonus episode? Solvents will eat your fucking brain away. I'm not saying it'll make you murder people, but it doesn't help.
Glues and solvents both. It's very harsh chemicals.
Especially back then. Yeah. This was shit that they didn't really know. I mean, they were still putting asbestos in things back then. And it was like,
PCBs are being used everywhere.
Yeah, and also a serious head injury sustained in an automobile accident in 1967.
Oh, perfect.
So, they said that Douglas may not be competent to stand trial, and it was reasonably certain that Douglas did not have the capacity to plan and execute the actions with which he had been charged. Okay. Which seems like he planned it out pretty well.
Yeah.
Seems like he had it all planned out pretty good.
You can't say the execute part wouldn't be there because he certainly is really good at planning.
He had it all ready. So November 14th, 1977, Fred makes bail.
What?
They let this guy make bail. They had lowered it to $100,000, and he makes bail on that. Okay. Which is, man. His attorney said it was a combination of family and friends posted the reduced amount, so down from $250 to $100. And, he's out on the street. His attorney says, quote, "The biggest thing against Fred right now is not evidence, but the pretrial publicity caused by the overreaction of the sheriff's department." So this is huge in the newspapers. They're going to make a lesbian snuff film and murder. And I mean, this was like everything they want to hear about in the late 70s. Like, oh, it's so juicy. So it was really out in the public. Yeah. He is charged at the end here with solicitation to commit murder. That's the main charge here, is what they end up, actually trying him on. In his trial here, the jury comes back deadlocked. They are 7-5 in favor of convicting him. Okay. 7-5 of soliciting. Yeah, that's what it is. So apparently this goes on for a while, and finally the judge calls it a hung jury and a mistrial. And so that's no good. So he stays out on the street. So finally, the prosecutors, though, they're going to immediately try him again.
Okay.
There. So August of 1978, he takes a plea.
Really?
Yes, he takes a plea. The plea is, he pleads no contest to conspiracy to commit assault with a deadly weapon.
Okay.
That's what he pleads no contest to. And the sentence is also part of the sentencing, a part of this whole agreement. The judge gives him, wow, this is interesting here. District Attorney's Office dropped the solicitation to commit murder. You, sir, may fuck off. Credit time served. Credit for 115 days served in jail.
For a conspiracy
have a good one, sir.
To commit what?
Assault with a deadly weapon.
And you get 115 days for that?
Time served gave him. Enjoy. Yep. It was gave him I can't remember what it was, but 6 months, and then you've already done that. Time served. Have a good one.
It is
bailiff
shocking.
Fucking uncuff him. Uncuff him.
How small of concern these citizens have for their community.
Well, in that particular case, this guy seems
like pretty
dangerous.
Good. Yeah, seems like pretty good evidence.
So, why the plea?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the prosecutor who accepted it said that because obviously there was a hung jury in the first one, that didn't help. And it would have cost the taxpayers a shitload of money for another trial. That's another thing. And the prosecutor said one reason he offered was, he said, quote, he'd only get 11 or 12 months at the most if we did get a conviction. Realistically, the court is going to have control of him for a year longer if he had got over him for a year longer than if he'd gone to prison, because he gets probation for this point, a year's probation as well. So he's saying at least we get to take a look at him for a year now. Otherwise, he would have fucking walked anyway. So at least we get to take a peek at him for a year. The judge said why he gave him the time served and all that. He said he did not think that any jury would be able to reach a decision whether he actually intended to murder the women or if it was just a big show. Because he's saying it's just for pictures. I don't know what you're talking about. That informant's crazy, and that's all they really have. But they have a tape also. Right. That's the fucked up part.
Bone saws and dildos are just props.
Yeah, but he said he just said that to get her to, act like it was real or whatever. That's what he was saying. So they also said after the first trial, one of the jurors, when asked about the whole thing, said it was an impossible task to decide because the jury was asked to, quote, look inside a man's head. So they said that we can't decide that. Right. So they said, I guess, fuck it. So time served, back to your upholstery shop with you.
Wow.
By the way, his wife stays with him.
Wait, hold on, he's married.
Yeah, I said he was married. Remember,
and she's thrilled
married
about
for 30
it.
years.
She's fine with it.
Yeah, fine. I don't know if she's happy about it, but she stays with him.
Okay,
that is a loyal woman.
Yeah.
So who is this?
Shit.
You'll overlook a few things there and just keep whatever you're doing on the stove. I feel like I don't see things.
Yeah,
I don't see him dragging a body through our living room. That's not it. So who is this fucking guy, basically?
Love to know.
Let's find out. Well, he was given up by his parents. He was adopted.
Yeah.
And he had foster parents. He was abandoned by his parents and left somewhere. So he ended up in an orphanage. So he got foster parents, including the best kind of foster parent, an abusive alcoholic father. That's what you want.
Yeah.
Who you're not even his actual seed. That's what you need.
A guy who's like, you want to do what, Karen? Whatever. You need kids? Get them. Whatever. I don't give a shit.
Dude, anybody who abuses a foster kid or an adopted kid,
guy's a monster.
That is so much more monstrous than beating your own kids. Yeah. At least you shouldn't beat your own kids and hurt your own kids, but at least basically you could have not intended to have kids, and now you have this kid that you don't want, and you're stuck with it because it came out of your body. That's not adopted. You had to do paperwork. You had to go out of your way to end up with this child. They didn't just drop it off at your house and you were like, I guess we'll take care of him. So this is some shit here.
And to neglect and abuse it's beyond the realm. That's nuts.
Yeah, he grew up in a very, very poor neighborhood in Chicago as well.
Perfect.
Where basically him and his friends would scavenge for food in garbage cans to get extra food. And the most common meal was a ketchup or a lard sandwich.
Ew.
That was the common meal of the time there. And his abusive alcoholic adopted father would lock him in a closet for long periods of time, like days at a time.
Yeah.
So a very nice man. So his life is going so well that at the age of 15, mind you, he runs away to join the Marines.
Wow.
At 15, well, World War II was going on too, so you could kind of slip in under the radar with a fake birth certificate because they were looking for people.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll send you right over there. You want to sign up? We'll get you right on a plane.
We'll pay you.
So apparently he was arrested at some point while he was in Florida with the Marines. Okay. Sounds like he's with a baseball team or something. Right. He's down in Florida playing the Navy, and he apparently, according to the reports from there, he was beaten and gang raped by the other inmates at this point in time.
No.
Because he was only 15 and they put him in adult jail because he was a member of the Marines and they thought he was an adult and he wasn't. And guess who figured out that he wasn't? All the other prisoners figured out he was weak, and there you go. So, that's something. He did end up in the Marines, though, where he actually was pretty valiant, as a matter of fact. He earned a number of medals, commendations, and even earned a medal for helping rescue two drowning sailors.
Is that right?
At one point. Yeah. So, during this time, there was a woman he knew who will say later on that he was very helpful to her. She had marital difficulties during a pregnancy, and he would give her food and take her places and take care of her and do shit, and was very nice to her. And so there's what's going on with this fucking guy here? And then after the military, he began working pretty much immediately in furniture refinishing, and in the 50s. So this is when the solvents were even worse than in the 70s, and all sorts of toxic solvents. And then he had his 1967 car accident, and then basically was a functioning complete alcoholic from 1966 to 1977 on top of all the other shit and the solvents on a daily basis.
And prison,
he's also drinking himself.
Gang rape as a minor. That's insane.
So by the time 1977 has come along, this is a boiling cauldron of shit right now.
Boy.
Cauldron of solvents and
bubbles popping with skull and crossbones being visual in
just a big witch cauldron. Just it stirs. It is bad stuff, man. So, and then 77 that happened, and we'll tell you about 76 as well, that led to the suspicions of the bodies. 1979. Now let's go to 79. Let's feather our hair up and dive on into 1979 with a big disco split, shall we?
Shall we?
Okay. What the fuck? Now, Kathy Phillips, we need to introduce here. Kathy Phillips is, she's having a bit of a hard time in 1979. She is a heroin addict.
Yikes.
Who is basically just always looking for any way to scheme some money to buy drugs, because she's a heroin addict, and that's how it goes. So a friend of hers is a guy named Richard Felix Hernandez.
Yeah.
And that's a guy he knows. He also is an upholsterer, as a matter of fact. He worked next door to Fred's finishing shop in Santa Ana.
Okay.
So he's, there's Fred Douglas's place, and then this guy works right next door, and he knows Kathy Phillips. So Hernandez would often get heroin for Kathy Phillips.
Yeah.
That's kind of his thing. Hernandez, by the sounds of him, is like everybody's Igor. Like he's, Dooth shit, and he comes with the bag and the hump in his back and shit. Like, that's the vibe I get off of him.
A creepy gopher.
Yeah, wait till you hear like where he sleeps and what he does, and you're like, "What the?
Oh, tell me! I can't wait.
What's going on with this guy? This is just the weirdest story all over. Everybody in this story is a fucking creep." Hernandez in 1981 starts working for our guy here. Well, not our guy. Definitely not our kind of guy. Fred Douglas. So he starts working for him in 1981 in his furniture refinishing shop. So he moves next door. Mm-hmm. This is wild. You know what he's paid? You know what his salary is?
A cot.
No, it's 1979. Okay. So, you can try, or 81, I'm sorry. Try to think of what his salary would be.
For actually doing upholstery in there.
He works in his furniture refinishing shop.
That's $1,500 a month, right?
It's food, beer, lodging, and occasional spending cash.
He's like a
Igor. He's fucking Igor.
That, or a West Virginia coal miner.
Yeah, just like back in the 20s you're talking about. Yeah, they give you there you go, enjoy the company script.
Right.
That's what they're giving him.
He's got upholstery script.
Yeah, upholstery script. It's food and beer, and the lodging isn't even good. It's not like I'll give you this 1-bedroom apartment.
Right.
Wait till you hear where he sleeps. He sleeps in a boat parked behind the shop.
Stop it.
The man sleeps. He lives in a boat that's not in the water.
He lives in a cuddy cabin on land.
Just a boat that's in the parking lot of a Santa Ana furniture refinishing shop.
Not dry docked, sitting in a parking lot.
Sitting in a parking lot. He just pulls the tarp back, climbs in, pulls it back over his head, and goes to sleep.
I'd like to see it as a cabin cruiser, but it's probably just an open bow family day boat.
Yeah. What is he? What's a yacht? No, he's got a fucking. No, this is like it's like a glorified bass boat. I feel like, and he's got this poor guy lives in there, and he gets fed in food and beer and living in a boat. That's how he pays the man.
God damn it!
How do you tell someone to do that, to do things when that's what you're paying them? Apparently, part of the deal is Hernandez is allowed to drink beer all day, every day, though. Hernandez wakes up, cracks a beer, drinks beer all through the day while he works, which is why he doesn't mind being paid in food, beer, and a fucking boat to sleep in. Because by the time he goes to sleep in the boat, he doesn't even remember where he is in the morning anyway.
Doesn't even realize it's a boat anymore.
I think he wakes up every morning and goes, how'd I get in this fucking boat again? Where am I? And he's 3 beers in, and he's like, man, it's pretty comfortable in here. It's not a bad boat.
You got to poke his head over the side to make sure he's not on the water.
Yeah, am I floating?
Where the fuck? Oh, it's a parking lot.
I had a Gilligan's Island flashback here. This
explains why there's no current.
All right, yeah, I didn't feel anything, but you never know. I could have been real drunk. Or actually, he's probably swaying anyway. He feels seasick no matter what. Spinning. So, this is the arrangement anyway, and he's getting Phillips heroin, and he's doing this shit, so he's a general gopher. He ends up introducing Kathy Phillips to Fred Douglas, and Fred Douglas, like he asks every single woman he meets, just like Leonard Lake, he says, I'll pay you if you pose for some nude photographs while in, like, bondage gear, which is, their bondage photos are, there's a market for that in the early 80s, So she said, sure, I'll do that. What the fuck? I'm a heroin addict. I could use the money.
Yeah.
So she agrees to pose, and shortly afterwards, he said, okay, let's do it. They went to his shop to take the pictures. He tied up her hands and her ankles, and he gagged her mouth.
Yeah.
Okay? Then he showed her photographs of several other women that he had done to show her the positions he wanted her to pose in.
Yeah.
Do this one, do that one. Apparently he had a shot list of, like, all his necessities that he had to get.
I like. Let's do this.
Yeah, he also instructed her to, quote, look scared at the same time. That's the whole
That's the
thing.
idea behind it,
Some sick, weird fucking power trip.
Gotta be some
whatever
fear
the fuck.
in this.
Whoever's jerking off to that. So anyway, and I'm not judging you for whatever you're into. I'm just,
do what you want,
look scared is like, I don't know, that creeps me out a little bit.
Much.
Anything else is fine, but if someone looks like they might not be enjoying it, I'm out. I'm out at that point.
That is
know?
the part of sex that is supposed to be, the trigger for you. Like, this person's enjoying what I'm doing. That's what gets you there, right? So,
but it's not about me feeling good.
Yeah, it's about you feeling bad.
You feeling bad. That's how that's one of these.
That's how I feel good.
Now show me your butthole. That's what we're talking about. As we all know.
On Peter Pan.
So he takes pictures of her with a Polaroid camera for about an hour.
Yeah.
You got to sell Polaroids? Who are you selling that to?
Nobody wants that.
He gives her $40 for this.
Wow.
Which she's cool with it. Doesn't hurt her. Unties her when he's done.
Okay.
$40. She leaves with Hernandez, who goes and gets her heroin with the $40.
Right.
So it's right to that. He might as well have paid her in heroin. So 2 weeks after that, he said, listen, would you help me out with something? I need you to maybe find a couple young women, and tell you what we'll do. We'll get them out in the desert. We'll make a film. We'll get some like bondage, and we'll have them do some girl-on-girl stuff, and then we'll kill them on film. What do you say? How about that? So he said, look, I need you out there because it's going to make it easier for these women to trust me. Like me and Hernandez, me and fucking Igor take them to the desert, they're going to be scared shitless. Throw you in the mix.
They're going to smell a cuddy cabin on this guy and be like, no, thank you.
No. So he's in there, just pounding beer after beer, walking around with a fucking half full 12-pack all the time. Yeah. No one wants that. This guy at this point too is, older too. Now it's 80 fucking, we're talking, what is this, 81 now? He's 50 years old. It's 50 something years old.
It is creepy.
It's creepy.
Yeah.
So if a woman's there, and especially a woman who says, no, I've posed before, he paid me and I left. It's fine. I've done this with him so much so that I'm helping him now.
Right. He has better self-awareness than most open mic comics, James.
He really does, which I guess if you're trying to, yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you're a predator, though, that's what it is. You know what to do. Yeah. These open mic comics they're just like weird people with no self-esteem and high egos, which is a very weird combination.
It's a bad
combination. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
It's fucking dangerous. So he says, you come with me. We're going to do this, and we'll get it over with. We'll sell it. And we're going to make some money. He told her that he's going to bury the body in the desert, so there's not going to be any evidence or anything like that. It's going to be super easy, and we're going to make this will probably net us about $35,000. He says we're going to sell this for.
That's shooting
$35,000. By selling the film to quote people in Las Vegas.
Okay.
So he's like, look, we're going to sell it. I got buyers lined up. So about $35,000. We're going to all get paid. So she says that Phillips, the whole thing is she's not going to go to the cops or anything like that because if you go to the cops, you're not doing heroin at that moment.
Right.
That's literally what she said. She was like, well, I wanted to be high and I'm not going to go talk to the cops. That's not what you do when you're on heroin. So not happening. But she did tell him that she didn't want to participate in this at all.
Okay.
She said, I'm fucking out of that shit. Like, I'll pose and you can pay me $40 or whatever, and I'm not helping you kill anybody. Hey, everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you about a healthy, delicious item, Hero Bread. And we're both trying to get healthier this new year. Jimmy had a eye-opening doctor's appointment and things like that. So we're trying to get healthier, and I'm telling you right now, this Hero Bread is a good step in this direction. It's delicious, and it is really good for you, and it's really excellent. They have the sliced bread is good, the bagels, the tortillas. I know you've been
they're terrific.
Ranting about the tortillas. They're so good. With Hero Bread, you can focus on your health goals and still indulge in the soft, fluffy experience you love, but guilt-free. I really love the little Hawaiian rolls, too.
Yeah.
They're so good. They're so good. The Hawaiian rolls, they're legit. They're fluffy. They're exactly how you want them to be. You'd never know it's low-carb and high-fiber bread from the texture. You get the soft, fluffy experience you know and love with your savory breakfast sandwich, late-night grilled cheese, Taco Tuesday. Do it. No compromises, just flavor, ultra-low net carbs, 0 grams of sugar, high in fiber. It's fantastic. Hero Bread is offering 10% off your order. Go to hero.co and use the code SmallTownMurder at checkout. That's SmallTownMurder at HERO.co.
And now back to the show.
Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you a little bit about Sono Bello. You know, the most known secret with celebrities and influencers and all these famous people is so many of them have had lipo. They've had lipo, whether it's a little touch-up here or a total makeover.
Yeah.
Nobody has a perfect body. That's the thing.
No.
They may look like it on TV, but there's things that help that. Absolutely. Lipo now has changed, and Sono Bello's been at the forefront with using LAL technology and getting those beautiful and natural outcomes for each person. Looking real natural. Our friends at Sono Bello are offering their best deal. You're now included in their winter savings event, but appointments are limited, so please get on this. Sono Bello doctors are masters in micro laser fat removal, a brilliant technique that removes stubborn fat permanently wherever your problem areas are. Tummy, love handles, thighs, arms, it's gone in one comfortable visit. Eating healthy and workouts are great. Keep doing that, but if you want to lose that stubborn fat in one visit, check out Sono Bello. Save big during their winter savings event. Schedule your free consultation now at sonobello.com/smalltownmurder. That's SONOBELLO.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
So she also said that she continued, though, to frequent the furniture shop even after this, because this is how strong it is if you're addicted to heroin. Mm-hmm. This is how if you're not addicted or you don't have a physical draw to this place, you're never going anywhere this guy even is rumored to have been 5 years ago again. You're never going near where he might be ever again, right? Yeah. He's tried to get you to lure young women to be murdered in the desert.
Yeah.
Not happening.
For me,
That's how strong a heroin addiction is. She's like, I'll just go to the shop and get heroin. It's fine.
I'm not going to the desert, but I'll go here.
I mean, I can make it work still. I can make it work. Because apparently Hernandez was the only guy that got her drugs. Really? So she was like dependent on him to get shit. So that's why she kept going back.
And that's heroin is tough to get. I mean, it's out there. Obviously, you can get it. But and back then,
early 80s,
when you find a guy that gets it, you just go to him.
Yeah, but it seems like if you've been a heroin addict for 3 years, you find a hookup or two. You don't just have the same guy.
Yeah.
I guess, but I guess maybe she's just a lazy junkie.
Yeah.
She's a lazy heroin addict is the problem. That's the problem. It's not the heroin. It's the lack of will to try.
Heroin does really make you sleepy once you get it.
That's true too. So, anyway, about a month later, Fred Douglas tries to get her to help him again. Mm-hmm. And Phillips goes to the shop to meet Hernandez to get heroin. And instead, Hernandez isn't there, but he is. Yeah. Fred's there. And Fred asks her, what are you going to do about what I asked you?
Yeah.
I haven't seen you in a while, and, you haven't been talking to me. Yeah, what's up with that shit? He said that he called her and said he said at one point, she said that she didn't want to participate. Again, at another point, he called her and said that he, quote, had a woman with him and wanted to carry out his plan right now. So can I pick you up and we'll go take care of this right now? So Phillips told him that she didn't want to be a part of the shit, and I'm not doing it.
Take me off
and
your
that
call
was
list.
that.
Jesus.
And then lucky for her, take me off your list. Lucky for her, I've never said this before, but lucky for her, she's convicted of burglary and sentenced to a year in county jail.
Great.
So that's the best thing that could have happened to her at that point in time, because Douglas can't get to her, and that's the last time she talks to him or sees him or has any contact with him. So she's saved here. Now, during 1982, he's married to his wife for 33 years at this point, Fred Douglas. At some point in early to mid-82, he just basically stops talking to or seeing his wife. He just kind of ghosts his wife of 33 years, just sort of. It's the weirdest shit. We've never heard of this before.
Yeah, that's pretty uncommon.
This is just going out for a gallon of milk, and he just never came home. And,
waited 30 years to ghost her. That's fascinating.
Right? Have you ever heard of anybody doing that after 33 years?
No.
Not 3 dates, 33 years. Wow. They have wow, you're pretty entrenched with people after that long.
Yeah, joint bank accounts. You can't just At that point,
everything. Join everything.
Your name's on the house.
33 years.
Yeah.
33 years? Jesus Christ. Yeah, fuck, man. So one of you, like, is the one that keeps all the medical paperwork straight and shit. You know what I mean? Like, you need to be together.
One of you has the updated cards. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You need to be together. You formed this. So, at this point, Hernandez had been working for Douglas for 8-10 months, something like that. And he asked Douglas he asked to get a coworker to drive Hernandez to his house in Costa Mesa. Okay. He called the shop and said, "Hey, drive fucking boat boy here, get Igor, pull him out of the boat, knock the can of natural light out of his hand for 10 minutes and drive him over to my house, would you?" So this guy does. When Hernandez arrives, and this is after this, Hernandez, Igor or not, you got to take off. He arrives and gets to his boss's house, and he sees an unconscious naked woman lying on a sofa bed in the living room.
Oh boy!
So, Hernandez is trying to be quiet, and the guy's like, "Oh no!" Douglas is like, "Oh no, I drugged her. She's fucking.
Make
she's
all
out.
the noise you want. Yeah,
you can play pots and pans in here. Here's what I need you to do, okay, Hernandez. I need you to take all your clothes off, and I want to take pictures of you with this woman, like shit like that." He said, "Remove your clothes and pose." So then, and this is pretty gross, everybody. So buckle up here. This is kind of bad shit. He tells Hernandez to insert a baton into her,
like a police baton, or like a.
I don't know if it's like
baton.
I was gonna say if it's like the front of the parade or like a police, but
rubber on each side or a handle on the side.
I'm gonna say like a police baton, based on the fact that he couldn't get it in her, so it's probably a police baton, so it wouldn't fit. So instead, what he does, this is fucking horrific, he puts butter on it.
Oh, good Lord.
And puts it in her.
Got it. Yeah.
In the other in the backside there.
Yeah.
So it goes in the rear entrance here. And then Jesus Christ, what a fucking scumbag. So then Douglas tells Hernandez to put your dick by your mouth there so I can take some pictures so it looks good.
With
you know
the
what I mean?
Back there.
Yeah. And so that's what he's doing. Now Hernandez hangs out at the house for a few days. The woman finally wakes up 3 days later.
Good Christ.
He drugged this poor woman. She was out for 3 days.
72 hours unconscious is a lot of whatever the fuck he gave her.
What the fuck do you... I've never heard of that before.
Never.
That's 72 hours.
That seems like you have to keep applying, right?
Seems like he gave her a bunch of drugs and put her in a fucking coma or something. You know what I mean? She came out of it. Like, I don't understand. It was 72 hours, though. That's fucking wild. But she woke up, and they let her go. Bye. Nice seeing you.
Yeah.
That was that. So never heard anything more about that. So this goes on early 1982. Douglas tells Hernandez, tell you what, Igor, I want to find a place in the desert where I can take pictures of naked girls. So they drove out to the desert near Indio out there and eventually found a spot between two hills that they thought was right. Yeah. They were like, yeah, this is the spot to do it. It'll be very photogenic. August 13th, 1982, Dana Lee, who's a man, by the way, Dana Lee had met Fred in July of 1982, and he says that in early August 82, Fred had asked him if he knew any women who would pose for nude photographs. Yeah. Like, any chicks looking for a couple extra bucks that would, good-looking young girls that wouldn't mind posing nude. So he told that Douglas tells Dana Lee that he would pay Dana $50 to $100 for an introduction to these women, depending on how quality they were.
Okay.
Basically. So at first, this Dana Lee says, no, I'm not interested. But then he ends up introducing a woman to him. Okay. He ends up finding someone. Well, you know what? I'm stretching the language a little bit. He introduces Margaret Kruger to him, who's 16 years old.
Oh, dear fuck.
Who is not a woman.
No.
And her roommate, Beth Jones, who's 19 years old.
Oh, my God.
They live together. They introduce Kruger then introduced Douglas to her roommate Beth Jones, and both women said that they would happily pose for him for pictures. So they have a roommate named Terry Allman, and Terry Allman said that after they had the two girls went and met with Douglas and then came back to the apartment and told Allman that they planned to, quote, make a quick $500 by posing for nude photographs.
Oh, boy.
That's how it was set up. So according to Allman, Beth Jones said that if she and Kruger were not back by noon the next day, because it's going to be a nighttime shoot, they're going to leave at like 1 o'clock in the morning to drive to the middle of the desert to take pictures.
James, there's no street lights.
It's when the lights go.
Beautiful.
Yeah. It's gorgeous out here under the stars. Jesus. Anyway, Kruger says that if they're not back by noon the next day, quote, something was wrong. And, I'm going, it's a guy named Douglas is his last name. That's where we're going. So something's wrong if I'm not back by noon. So when she's not back by noon the next day, Allman calls her mother, and that's how that goes. Now, there's a guy named George Stevens who goes by Dave. I can't.
Of course he does.
You know what? Normally I'd be like, what the fuck? But in this story, this is the most normal thing we've heard so far. George Dave. Great. Hi, George Dave. Nice to meet you. This is Igor. Line up with the rest of the fucking freaks and let's fucking get this show on the road. Holy shit. So he'd been staying with the girls, with Beth and Margaret in their apartment for about a month. And he said that he saw them leave the apartment at about 1:30 in the morning to go with Fred Douglas now. So what ended up happening here, Fred Douglas asks Igor to accompany him to the desert where the photo session's going to take place. I need you out there. You're my first AD. You know how that goes. You're,
yikes, man.
He said, yes, master. And then he hurled his hump at him.
Don't worry, I'm paying you still.
Oh, okay. Will I get beer? Oh, good, beer.
Extra free night in the Sea Ray.
Oh, I'll throw you an extra life jacket for a pillow. Oh, okay. I'm ready, master. Yes. You fucking Igor over here. So if you haven't seen any Frankenstein stuff, this is going right over your head.
Even Young Frankenstein, anything.
That's what I mean. Young Frankenstein is all of my references. I never watched any of the classics.
It's the best Igor ever.
No, I'm picturing Marty Feldman. That's Igor to me. So, with Gene Wilder looking at him. Man, so Hernandez agreed, yes, I'll go with you to meet some girls, because that's what he told them they were doing. So later that day, this is that Dana Lee, later that day, said that he and he was the one who introduced them. He introduced them to the girls. He I guess talked the girls into it over pizza.
Yeah,
they met in a 7-Eleven parking lot and then went for some pizza. And
I don't know, man. You can talk me into a lot of shit with pizza. I get it.
You're right. Pizza and really $500.
Yeah.
And these girls aren't like. By the way, they're not into any kind of prostitution. They're not into anything like this. They're not dancers even. They're just girls who need rent money because they're young and they're on their own. So that's why they're doing it. And they figure they have the sense of, well, if we're both there, then it's safe. You know what I mean? If there's two of us, then it's safe, because that's what they always tell you. Bring a friend, go with a friend, do that. So problem is, if there's as many disgusting guys there too, then you got a problem.
Not safety in numbers anymore.
It's exactly. So they ended up going after that. They met at the 7-Eleven to leave at 1:30 in the morning. They drive south into the desert, basically, because their girls are from Anaheim. So that's how they're going south out there. And this is like we said, what, a 2-hour drive-ish, I would say, from Anaheim, if it's 240 from LA.
To give you an idea, Anaheim's where fucking Disneyland is. It's a very family-friendly fucking neighborhood of LA.
Yeah, it's Orange County. I mean, it's the burbs. It's basically
the least threatening area of LA.
It's the burbs. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. It's very non-threatening. It's just rows of houses and rows of houses.
Everybody's got rose bushes, and it's lovely.
It's nice there. So he ended up during the drive. Hernandez is pounding his beer, obviously. And he and Margaret Kruger, the 16-year-old, are smoking weed as well.
Correct.
So they're passing a joint back and forth. When they arrive at the desert, Kruger and Hernandez smoke some more weed, chill out, loosen up. And Hernandez, basically, Douglas tells Hernandez, do this shit, starts barking instructions at him, lay a sheet on the ground and prepare rum and cokes for all four of us, please.
Yeah.
So this guy's an all-purpose. He's like a butler, a refinisher, bartender. He'll do it all, man. He doesn't give a fuck. He'll find heroin. He's
cock model,
cock model, rapist. He'll do it all. This guy doesn't give a shit. Contracted rapist. It doesn't matter.
Real jack of all trades.
He really is. I was just going to say he's a jack of all trades. Really, he's got a lot going on. So he does that. They relax. They all sit out in the desert and just relax for about an hour. Let's all be loose. You know what I mean? No one wants to rush the artistic process.
Right. It takes time.
Yeah. So a little time goes by. Everybody's chilling out. And after about an hour, everybody's had some weed and some booze and they're all relaxed. He instructs the girls to remove their clothes. It's all right. Let's get started. Why don't you guys get nude? Because obviously that's why we're here. Kruger smartly asks, and this is like straight out of Drop Dead Gorgeous. If they tell you to take your top off, get the money first. This is right out of that.
Okay.
She says before she does shit, she said, "Show me the money.
Yeah.
I want to see the money first," which very smart. He shows her $100 bill. Like, I got money. Look, that's not $1,000 because they're supposed to get $500 a piece for this.
What
but
is this, Kingpin? Come on.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's wrapped in, it's just wrapped in like Kentucky Fried Chicken receipts. Right. That's all it is. It's where he's been eating every night for some reason. So he shows her that. She's satisfied by that, starts stripping down. Then he gives Igor here, Hernandez, a rope, which was, they said it was a bit thicker than a Venetian blind cord. So not a rope, but like but not twine, somewhere in between. And he told him to tie them up. You know how to do it, Igor. We'll tie them up. We got to get the pictures going. So Hernandez ties their feet at the ankles and then tied their hands behind their backs. That's the pose that they want. Now, at this point, Margaret is tied up, and Margaret Kruger says, "Where do you keep where's the camera? I'm tied up. I'm on a sheet. You showed me money, but I don't see a fucking camera." And he said, "Well, I got to go get it, but I wanted to set it all up first. I'm going to go to the car now and grab the camera."
Okay.
So he and Hernandez walk to the car, and they go to the trunk, and he pulls out a rifle.
Oh, boy.
He does. This is a he, I'm meaning Douglas. Now, Hernandez is kind of a little freaked out by the gun at this point. When they get back to Margaret and Beth, he puts a clip in the rifle, loads it.
Yeah.
Points it at them and tells them, quote, "Here's the camera."
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Oh, this is terrifying. He then told them, quote, "Make love to each other while I point this rifle at you."
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ. This is awful. Then for the next 15 minutes, he paced back and forth in a manic fashion, shouting instructions to the girls.
With no camera.
With no camera.
Okay.
There's absolutely no pictures being taken. He's just pacing back and forth with a rifle in his hand, shouting, "Do this to her, do that to her, do this, do that."
Yeah.
Yeah, he ordered he ordered them to, kiss each other's feet, do that, go down on each other, and, all this. He said, quote, this is gross, just coming from the scumbag, quote, he wanted, quote, "some tongue on her crotch."
Yikes.
That's disgusting. Not that, but him ordering it is disgusting. So they at one point they requested something to drink. They were like, it's warm out here, and we're, can we have something to drink? So he does. He gives them a sip of soda. That's what he gives them. Now,
that'll fix your porch.
That'll do it. There you go. During this, Hernandez, we're not laughing because it's funny. We're laughing because it's just
no matter
it's
how many
outrageous.
times LeBron James gets tired and then guzzles a Sprite, I don't believe that did anything for fixing how thirsty he is.
Yeah, soda doesn't help much. So Hernandez continued to drink this whole time, by the way. He's just boozing it up the whole entire time. And he said he was, he was afraid and drinking. So after the women had a drink, what he does is Fred has a razor blade and he slices Margaret Kruger on the neck with the razor blade. Okay? Not like cuts her throat.
Yeah.
Just like kind of slices at her neck, like to where he opens up a pretty good wound. He then, I don't even know how to describe this. He sucked on the open wound for 10 minutes.
Whoa. 10 minutes?
10 minutes, like a vampire.
Whoa.
He sucked an open wound for 10 minutes.
That's a lot of time.
A 55-year-old scumbag sucked the neck wound of a 16-year-old girl for 10 minutes in the middle of the fucking desert with fucking Igor on the side drinking. Okay, this is wild. Once he stopped sucking on the cut for whatever reason, he went and got a beer from the cooler.
Yeah.
At that point, he turned to Hernandez and he said, well, they just can't go back now. Now it's too late. You know, we just can't take them back. We can't do that. So afterwards, he goes back and he tells the two women to, because at this point they were kneeling there, tied up, like awaiting instruction, basically. And he tells them that he wants them to give him a blowjob at this point. That's the next step in this whole thing. So after that, he says, well, now I want you to do the same to fucking Igor.
Oh, no.
Here.
God, Jesus.
So Igor can't get it up, so he tells Douglas, I have to take a piss. I have to go take a piss. That's my problem here. So he runs off and squats and shits behind a bush. That's what Hernandez does.
Okay.
He runs off and he squats behind a bush to go shit instead. So, wow. This is a fucking disaster, this whole episode. My God. So, at this point, Hernandez hears one of the women, he doesn't know which one, yell, quote, leave her alone, very loud. Hernandez says once he, pulled his pants back up or whatever, he walked back toward them and he saw Douglas choking Beth Jones. Okay. At that point, he noticed that Margaret was dead with blood, quote, spurting from her mouth.
Oh, my.
So he'll claim later on that he attempted to knock Douglas off of the girl at this point, but that instead Douglas knocked him down. So
he's drunk with shit all.
Well, he said, yeah, he's got shit running down his leg. He said he was, quote, too messed up after drugs and drinking beer to stop him. He said, I was drinking rum and beer and smoking weed, and I was just too messed up. After he choked Jones, he hit her with the butt of the rifle repeatedly till she died.
Boy, oh boy.
Fucking brutal. Then he turned to Hernandez and said, hey, heat's getting to me. Let's go get a drink. Yeah. Let's go to town and let's go to a bar, man. This is just, you know what I mean? It's hot out here.
Nary a shot fired either. Like the worst ways to murder people.
Oh, horrible.
Just
horrible.
Terrible.
He instructed Hernandez to cover him up with a sheet and, push him behind a bush just in case. You never know. No one's going to come by, but you never know. So push him behind a bush and let's go. So they go to a bar in Borrego Springs where they each have a bunch of drinks.
Okay.
They just kick back, have a bar, have a few drinks at the bar like nothing happened. Yeah, good, right?
Hernandez has just got to be terrified of this man, right? Is that why he's sticking around?
I think he's so fucking and so dependent on him for everything. He's his lifeline. Yeah. He's where his booze comes from, where his food comes from.
Says a word, the Bayliner's out the window.
That's it. There we go. He'll be homeless if he casts him out. I don't think it's that, or I don't know, man. This is like a weird. That's why I said it's a cross between Bono and Leonard Lake, because he's got his Ing there, he's got him wacky, and he's got his Kenny Bianchi. It's the same. They're the same guy, just different personalities to the extreme. Ing was very barely talked,
but he was
Bianchi
dominant,
never shut
wasn't
the
he?
fuck up. He was dominant physically, but not of the pair. Yeah, the thought probably was all Leonard Lake was the guy doing the talking, making the plans. He was the guy in charge. Eng was like the enforcer of his
vicious
shit.
fashion. Yeah.
And whereas Bianchi was like the lackey. I'm going to go do this, do that. It's weird. Like he needed Bianchi there to make Bono. So someone knew how great Bono was.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like he had Bianchi there. Like, see, you know how great I am now.
How
it's weird, but
heard of this.
What did I say before we started the show?
Much.
I said by the end of the show, you're going to say, how do we not know who this fucking asshole is before this?
Really bad.
So they go drink. They go back there. They go back to the desert, scene of the crime. And Douglas tells Hernandez, go ahead and untie those ropes and take all the jewelry off of them and anything else that could possibly identify them.
Right.
Anything like that, grab it off of them. He said that we're going to toss these, throw these out in the road on the way back to Orange County. He also tells Hernandez, this guy is just absolutely Igor. He goes, dig a grave.
Okay. He's now a grave digger.
Now he's a grave digger. This guy he's had 12 jobs today.
Yeah.
Never mind.
He should update his resume. He could crush it on LinkedIn.
Yeah, talk about a personal assistant.
Yeah.
This guy is like,
do anything for you.
Fuck. The worst celebrity in the world would be satisfied with this guy as a person. He'll bury bodies for you, literally in the desert. So he tells him to bury these bodies, dig a grave and bury them, okay? And the guy fucking does it. While he's burying, Douglas leaves for about an hour.
Oh, my.
He goes, I'm going to be gone. You go ahead and bury those bodies. I'll be back in a little while.
You stay in the desert with 2 dead bodies. Handle this for me. I'll be right back.
I'll be back. So when they return, they ended up, he got back to the desert. Hernandez was done, I guess. And then they drove to Borrego Springs, where they took the sheets, ropes, and the clothing that the girls were wearing and threw them all in a dumpster behind the supermarket. And then they drove back to the upholstery shop like nothing happened. Now, when they did that, there's an employee there named Leoncio Mondragon Garcia.
Yeah.
That's a handle.
That's
right
a
there.
UFC fighter right there.
A good one, undefeated. Yeah. He said that he worked in the shop for a few days before this happened. He's a new employee.
Just got here.
He just got here. He said that the night before all this happened, Douglas left the shop in the early evening, but returned about 1 a.m. Remember, because the girls leave from 7-Eleven at 1:30.
Right.
He returns about 1 a.m. to wake up Hernandez, who was sleeping in the boat in the backyard. And they saw Douglas and Hernandez leave through a front door of the business and get into Douglas's car. Now, this employee, Garcia, followed them until they stopped at a nearby gas station, and then he just walked back to the shop and stayed there. And he said that neither of them, he was at the shop till 3:30 the next afternoon, and neither man had come back until that. He hadn't seen them, basically.
Yeah.
So the next day, after this, they go home. The next day, Douglas talks to Igor, and he says, you know what we need to do? Or actually, you need to do?
Yeah.
What am I saying? We. I need you to go back out there and find that razor blade that I used to cut Margaret's neck. Please do that. Which Hernandez drove to the desert and sifted around in the fucking sand for hours, but never found the razor blade.
Wow.
Jesus. When he got back to the shop, Hernandez did, it was locked. And Douglas told him that someone had called the shop and asked for Jack, and that unknown people had tried to break in. So this is what he tells Hernandez. That's why it's locked, because people wanted to break in. So then Douglas tells Hernandez that if the burglars return, call the Garden Grove police. And this is their number and all that shit. Then he gave him a rifle as well. And he says, anybody comes, shoot them. That's it. He told them, no, never mind the boat. I want you to sleep inside. You're stepping up tonight. Sleep inside on the quote glue table.
Yeah.
Sleep on the glue table tonight and get with a rifle and get ready if you hear any noise.
That's the equivalent of getting called up from the miners.
Exactly. Yes, you're on the glue table now, big guy. Pretty much, you're going to be in the solvent room next. So, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
After Douglas left the shop, a woman called and asked for Jack. Later that evening, Hernandez called the police after he was awakened by a noise on the roof. He said at least one officer believed that those attempting to break in to the shop were angry over a, quote, drug burn. Oh. That's what the cops were telling him.
Okay.
That it sounded like one of these guys got burned on a drug deal. And so, yeah. The next day, after that, Hernandez and Douglas are questioned at the Garden Grove Police Department about the disappearance of Kruger and Jones because they told people, if we disappear, this is the guy we're going with. Hernandez gives him an alibi that Douglas had given him a few days ago. He came up with a story, and he said, tell the authorities on the day of the murders that we spent the day fishing in Oceanside and then traveled to Corona to look for your brother, Hernandez's brother, who we never found.
Okay.
That was our day. Fishing and brother hunting.
Yeah.
Not girl killing.
Way out in L.A.
Definitely.
No way.
Yeah. Definitely not woman killing. Definitely
or in the
didn't
desert
do that.
at all.
Never. Right. No raping, no killing, none of it. So that evening, they end up, after they're questioned and released, because they just stick with their alibis. They have no proof. He ends up, Douglas and Hernandez drive up north for several days before they reach Victoria, Canada.
My word. They drove the whole state, the whole fucking west coast of the United States.
All the way up. They get there and immediately obtain employment at Strong's Furniture Refinishing Shop. So they just moved.
Yeah.
He just left the fucking shop behind, drove up there, and got another job.
How about that?
Done.
And if you're wondering about a career to get into, evidently it is furniture stuff, because you can just get a job on a whim.
Oh, yeah. If you have the skills, it's one of those things. If you have the skills, you can get a job anywhere in the country if you know how to upholster. That's always up. People are always reupholstering furniture, car shit.
Yeah.
Car shit, not so much now, but now you probably have more custom stuff.
Right.
Whereas back in the day, you'd have fixes because people would have cars longer.
They've also turned the mechanics of a car into very specific at the dealership stuff, because it's so fucking hard to do now.
It's really hard to do. So about 6 weeks later, they're up there for about 6 weeks. Douglas tells the guy he's working for that he has to leave to go to Seattle to get medical attention for gout. He's got gout.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man.
So, but what ends up happening is, instead of that, Douglas and Hernandez drive to Reno, where they bought a car in order to trade its license plates with the ones that were on the car they were driving. Okay, they bought a similar car so they could do that. So they could drive around and not be in their own cars, which is Jesus Christ. Okay, 2 days later, they drove back to the murder site to check on the grave there, okay?
All the way the fuck back down.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy. And, they drove all the way back down. Now, toward the end of 1982, no one's found them yet, these girls, by the way. They're still buried in the desert. They ended up returning. They go back to Victoria, this time with a man named Bob. I don't know where Bob came from.
What about him?
Now, Douglas instructs Bob to make sure that Hernandez has food and shelter. Take care of Igor.
Okay.
And then he left. Just took off. I'll be back later. Peace. Now, Hernandez is up there in Canada, just chilling, not knowing what's going on, but being taken care of by Bob.
Yeah.
Hernandez is questioned by Canadian detectives about the disappearance of these two women several times.
Really?
By the way, at one point, they actually offered him immunity and Canadian citizenship in exchange for his testimony.
It's a pretty damn good deal.
That's not bad, and he said no.
Wow.
Igor is loyal.
Either that or Igor doesn't know what immunity means.
Yeah, he's like, immunity? No, I get sick all the time. I don't believe you.
I don't foresee any pandemics happening anytime soon. I'll be all right.
I don't need it. It'll be fine. So Easter of 1983 comes along, and at the Anza, it's a Borrego National Park is where this is all in, where the bodies are. A photographer and his wife on Easter Sunday are out there taking pictures of the lovely, lovely desert when they discover something not so lovely, the bodies of Margaret Kruger and Beth Jones. Okay. They discover them. They call the police, obviously. They excavate it. It's sand, so it might have gotten knocked off.
Who knows?
You see a finger sticking out, you're going to investigate.
Maybe a sandworm swam underneath them or something and pushed them up. Who knows?
You never know. Yeah, it could have been a sand dragon. So once they excavate it, they collect human teeth, hair. There's some barrettes around from the hair and bones as well. Forensic odontologist Norman Sperber examined the skulls, and they ended up matching the dental charts and x-rays of these two missing girls, and they identify them. Now, at first they said that doubt they'll ever be able to determine exactly how they died, quote, because all we have are parts of skeletons and animals had gotten to them before we did.
Awful.
That's why animals dug them up.
Worst, man.
In the desert, there's not a lot of food, so if you bury something in the desert, it's not like the woods.
Right.
Like an animal will scavenge it and pull it up.
It will find that smell.
Yeah, it definitely would. So they're this is This is crazy. The police announced, they say the girls thought they were going to be paid $500 to be in a porno movie, possibly with bondage. But they were actually, it was going to be a snuff type film or photos, and they're trying to explain this shit to the public here. They said neither had been involved in any prostitution. Anaheim detective Larry Johnson, after he dunked on a guy, said, quote, they were just two girls that didn't have jobs and needed money. Mm-hmm. There you go. Now, about the girls, Patricia Kruger, who is Margaret's mother, called Margaret, quote, my little maverick, and said she was pig-headed and thought she could handle the world, and she had no fears.
Yeah.
So
it's an awesome daughter.
It's dangerous.
It's dangerous.
It's awesome.
Yeah, but it's the coolest.
That's what you want.
Girl. Yeah.
Yeah. If she doesn't get murdered, she's going to have a great life. You know, that's the problem. So, yeah, you don't want him to be murdered. And then Kent Jones, he's Beth Jones's brother. He says that his sister recently had gotten in with a, quote, biker crowd.
Oh, okay.
Which is not where you want your 19-year-old sister to end up with, the biker crowd. So anyway, the police say they have a good idea where the two suspects are. They said they have two suspects, but they don't expect an arrest in the next few days. They said that Hernandez was last seen on April 16th, 1983, leaving Garden Grove in a white van pulling a 26-foot cabin cruiser. And Douglas is 5'10", 220 pounds, and Hernandez is 5'9", 175, and that's what they're trying to find them. And they're saying maybe they could be working in an upholstery shop. Yeah. You never know. The judge issues no bail warrants for them, so they're really looking for them. They're looking for them. It's murder, conspiracy to commit murder, conspiracy to solicit and engage in prostitution. So where are the guys anyway?
I'd love to know.
Hernandez has returned to Orange County. And they discovered after this, when they came back, they went out and checked on the gravesite again and noticed that they had been disturbed and they're no longer there anymore. And so they also find out that warrants had been issued for their arrest. So they get the shit scared out of them. And they drive down to Laredo, Mexico.
Ooh.
So, yeah, they go down there. They spend about 3 weeks in Mexico hiding from authorities. And then Douglas ends up coming back home. Hernandez stays down there, though, for about 10 months.
Wow.
Until he's finally taken into custody by Mexican authorities, who had been told by American detectives that he was wanted in the U.S. In March of 1984, Hernandez was arrested by Mexican police in Laredo, Mexico. That is police from Mexico. I assume they're probably Mexican also, but maybe they're not. Yeah. They could be Canadian police who happen to be working in Mexico.
I'm sure there are some French ones.
For the Mexican police. Right. You never know. You know, so anyway, Detective Johnson of the Anaheim Police Department was informed of the arrest, and he and other United States officers traveled to Mexico to go get him. Upon arrival, they were informed that the local police, about the murders, and they said, we want him for that. Showed him an affidavit, an arrest warrant, got them some photographs and all that. So they said, we'll take him off your hands. The Mexican officers said that, we're going to question Hernandez about that, not you. We'll take care of it.
About an American murder?
About that, yeah. And they said, you got a tape recorder we could borrow? They don't even have a tape recorder at the fucking police station.
You're ill-equipped for this, fellas.
We drove down here. You expect us to have it? You live here. But they did. They had a tape recorder. They gave it to them, and they were advised that they told the cops, the American cops, we'll get a hold of you when we're done questioning him. Oh. Go enjoy the sights. So they proceeded to question Hernandez, the Mexican officials. They were unsuccessful in their first foray into this. Then they resorted to physical violence, subjecting him to a sustained 20-minute beating.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
He was hit in the face, stomach, and sides, had his hair pulled. He ended up with all sorts of shit, fractured ribs and all sorts of bruises.
That's not how you get out of him what you want. Offer him a goddamn bayliner.
And he didn't talk. Wow. Beer is how you get what he wants. Beer and food. He didn't talk, though, at all. So they stopped the interrogation and said, that's okay. You don't want to talk? That's fine. You don't have to talk to us. Mm-hmm. It's okay. It's okay, buddy. It's okay, Igor. He said, but just one thing we got to let you know, though. It's going to get worse this evening. So enjoy your day. And then they walked the fuck out. So he was scared, and then later that evening, the officers did return, and Hernandez said that one of them had an automatic weapon with him, and the officers informed Hernandez that they were going to, quote, take him out to the beach to talk to him.
Yeah.
Which, that's not good. That's not good.
Not in fucking Laredo.
Bad things are going to happen to you out there. They've already beaten you severely.
Yeah.
So, fearing for his life, he gave a full confession at that point. He was like, okay, I don't want to go to the beach. Never mind here.
Well done, fellas.
I'll take an ass kicking, but this is crazy. His statement was typed and signed after he was told that it would not be given to the United States.
Really?
So they did it, and they said it's just going to be placed in the Mexican police files so we know who you are and all about you. So then the police hand him over to the U.S. authorities, and they gave him a copy of Hernandez's statement right along with him.
Stuck his statement in his back pocket.
Pretty much. Just licked it and stuck it to his forehead.
Now get out of our country.
Get out of here now. They escort him across the border, and they officially arrest him and take him to court. He's interviewed at the police station, and by the DA and a detective. The DA questions him.
Really?
Attorney Rakakis. Rakakis, that's his name. Rakakis. He didn't give him, apparently Rakakis didn't give him Miranda warnings, they say, but rather informed him that their discussion was to be off the record and it wouldn't be used against him at trial. So rather than it can and will, he said it can't and won't.
Okay.
So before informing him of the charges he faced and the possible penalties, he told Hernandez that he was in serious trouble, and the DA said that he wanted to know Hernandez's story to see if he could be used as a witness against Fred Douglas.
Okay.
He said he would tell his story, and then Rakakis asked Hernandez if he wanted the interview taped, and he said that he didn't. Don't tape it. Mm-hmm. So during the interview, I guess he never. The confession in Mexico doesn't really come up during this whole questioning process. Hernandez thought the American police may have been given the statement, but he didn't know for sure, so he wasn't going to go, oh, do you have my confession from Mexico? Right. So he just left it alone. There was no offer of leniency made before this interview, but afterward, the DA indicated that if Hernandez cooperated, she could possibly help him out and reduce some things or, smooth some shit over for him.
Okay.
So during the interview, Hernandez's attorney arrived at the police station. The DA told Hernandez of the attorney, and Hernandez said that he would rather finish giving the statement than talk to his attorney, which is the opposite way you're supposed to do that. So Hernandez, the statement he gave was pretty much exactly what he gave to the Mexican officials as well.
Okay.
Same thing. And
so he's got to assume
shit.
that they know what he said down there, so he just reiterates everything.
That's what he did. He thought they did, so he didn't want to lie.
Right.
Apparently, he had spoke before he spoke to the American officers. He didn't tell the Americans that the Mexicans beat him or any of that stuff there. So finally, Douglas is arrested in February of 1984. Finally, and in North Las Vegas, Nevada, where he was living under the assumed name of George Harris.
Like what? Just
George Harris.
Took off the Beatles' name? That's it?
Yeah. He was like, he almost went as Ringo Starr. So don't fucking get him. This is better.
Yeah. Paulie McBlarty.
John Lennonovich. Yeah. Not good. So he is extradited back to California and all that sort of thing. They're both charged with murder and conspiracy to commit prostitution. Okay. Hernandez is given full immunity for his testimony.
That is kind.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Full immunity? Are you out of your fucking mind?
How 100% accomplice? Jesus.
Yeah. How many cases have we done where, like, some husband drags his wife along for a murder and she goes to jail for 20 fucking years for that shit. Right. And even though she wanted nothing to do with it and was this guy full, that's how bad they want Douglas. Yeah. They want him off the streets, I assume, because this has come up before. Right away, they have arguments over jurisdiction because he's saying that the murder took place in San Diego County. How are you saying this is Orange County? We shouldn't be tried in Orange County. We should be tried somewhere else. And the cops say that the original plan took place in Orange County. So
that's a good point too, because you're gonna charge them with kidnapping in Orange County and then murder out there.
Yeah.
What do you got to do in this situation?
They figure that's where the conspiracy was formed,
Hatched,
so that's where they do it. Yeah. So they said there's a territorial jurisdiction in the county of Orange to try this matter, relying on the theory that preliminary arrangements which led to the commission of the offense were held in Orange County. That's the court's way. Now, Hernandez, his testimony, right away, Douglas is saying that shouldn't be allowed to testify because it's inadmissible as a matter of law because it was obtained by improper and coercive police and prosecution conduct. Okay. He's talking about the Mexican confession. Right. He says that the coercive tactics employed by the Mexican police in getting the initial confession are attributable to the United States authorities, and that puts a taint on the initial coerced confession. And the whole thing needs to be out now, basically. The court in the U.S. says, well, it doesn't really matter what the Mexican authorities did because that's not the confession we're using. We're using the one that we got from him that wasn't coerced at all.
When he talked to the DA.
Yeah, so the court's like, I don't know, whatever they did in Mexico ain't really our fucking problem. Right. We weren't working together with them.
We're not using that anyway.
Yeah, if the American authorities said, hey, do us a favor and interrogate that guy for us, wink, wink, right. Meaning beat the shit out of him in this country where it's fine or whatever, that would be different. But they literally told the Americans, we'll give him to you when we're done with you. Let me get a tape recorder.
Yeah.
So anyway, also now with psychology here, psychiatrists are involved. Now they bring in his counsel, Douglas's counsel, they're trying to investigate his mental state to see if there's evidence to suggest he's impaired, obviously. He had been experiencing severe claustrophobia in his jail cell. He says a problem that he's had since childhood after being locked in a closet, right. Which that's fair.
So it's claustrophobia. It said he used to have rain from Canada to Mexico, and now 8x10 feels small.
If it's going to get tighter, I would assume, in there. A little bit tighter than that. It would be good. Hernandez, on the other hand, is like, hey, this is great. Holy shit.
There's no transom in my ribs. This is terrific.
I can stand up in here. This is wonderful. I like a tarp roof, but I got to say, concrete works too. This
doesn't even smell like gasoline in here. It's terrific.
Wow. That's awesome. Fucking so weird. I had a gear shifter up my ass for most of the time I sleep, and now I don't anymore. So they said that it was because of the claustrophobia, the lawyer was having a hard time getting Douglas to concentrate on his defense. Yeah. So that's why they initially got a psychiatrist in. They wanted to try to get Douglas an individual cell as well to help his claustrophobia. Okay. And the lawyer directed the experts to focus primarily on the claustrophobia, but also see if there's anything else, floating around in there that they could use for the defense. Mm-hmm. See if he's nuts too while you're in there. So, they had they did some interviews and testing. They found no indications of any major mental disorders. And one doctor suggested an additional testing could be done. And the lawyer requested and received $35,000 for additional mental health testing. Wow. Yeah. They were never performed, though, these tests, for some reason. Really? He had so there was approved but not done. He received a private cell, Douglas does, in jail, and the court refused he got the cell, and then he refused any further cooperation in mental health testing. Mm-hmm. Didn't want to talk to the shrinks anymore. So there was substantial. Basically, the lawyer tried to get him to talk to psychiatrists several times. Douglas was adamant that he did not want any psychological issues introduced at trial, that he was innocent, and he wanted to use an alibi defense. Okay. Not crazy. I didn't do it. Right. Wasn't there. His attitude was corroborated by one of the investigators, too, who that's what he told that guy as well. Okay. So he's like, I guess that's what he wants. So he initially agreed to consult with the doctors, but then after that, once he got his own cell, not at all. So they do a jailhouse interview. A newspaper here in Santa Rosa, California, does a jailhouse interview with him on March 9th, 1984. And he denies in this interview that he ever even met these Margaret or Beth. He said, I never even met these girls. I don't know what you're talking about. He said that he and coworkers were refinishing furniture the night of the killings and that he knew of one of the victims, 16-year-old Margaret Kruger, but didn't ever meet her or know of them personally. He had just heard her name before. That's what he said.
I wonder why he picks the young one to be like affiliated.
Right.
That's
the weird part. That is super creepy. So that was probably the one where there was some connection where they both knew a same person or he couldn't deny he's heard of her probably. Right. That was what it was. So the trial comes up, and right away they introduce some things into trial that we are going to find out for the first time. Apparently, in July of 1976, there's a woman named Julie McGettrick, and she worked for him. Apparently, he owned or operated or did something at a cocktail lounge called the Villa d'Italia. And I didn't realize if it was a Mexican or an Italian place, so I had to know whether it was Villa or Villa. It's Villa d'Italia in Orange County. Now, McGettrick testifies that Douglas approached her with a proposition. This is 1976, mind you. This is pre the first arrest. Right. With a proposition that she join him in convincing young girls to pose for photographs and then killing and dismembering them.
Oh, no. That's damning.
So this was in 7. Yeah, that's damning. So he drove her all the way out to Yucca Valley in search of a location. This was before he had his cabin.
Right.
He ended up finding it to commit his acts. McGettrick said that that Douglas told her that he wanted the girls to be, quote, cut up and bleeding but still conscious.
Oh, my.
So they could look scared or whatever. And that role, that her role in the act would just be to appear in the photographs that he planned on taking once he tortured the girls.
Yeah.
So he's going to torture the girls, and then you got to be in the photographs, doing stuff to them. So yeah, McGettrick testifies that she did pose nude for him during a trip to the desert, but she said she did it out of fear. Mm-hmm. She said she just did it because she thought if she gave him what he wanted, he'd leave her alone and wouldn't hurt her. He also had shown her a gun in the car before she removed her clothes, and the photos were taken next to the car. Okay. So it was pretty small environment. Yeah. McGettrick said that she followed his instructions to pose for the photos because she feared he was going to grab his gun and use it on her. That's fair. Yeah. Very good instincts. A few days later, though, so she's scared of him, thinks he's a creepy guy. This is why this is bad. Thinks he's a creepy guy, thinks he's a terrible person. Obviously, something that you wouldn't want anybody else being any part of. Right. Instead, a few days later, McGettrick approaches a woman named Vicky Pendleton, who's another employee at the restaurant, and asked if she would be interested in posing for him.
Oh, my God.
What the fuck? So Pendleton, McGettrick, and Douglas all drive out to the desert for a photography session. But when Pendleton and Douglas arrived at McGettrick's motel, McGettrick refused to answer the door.
Yeah.
Now she's out. Okay. So Pendleton and Douglas drove out to Yucca Valley by themselves. And there, Pendleton said that, this is her testimony, that he, quote, got me from behind with a rag, and I guess it was ether or whatever, and he drugged me and I passed out.
Yeah, chloroformed her.
Holy shit. That's fucking diabolical, man. That is terrible. When she regained consciousness, he was standing about 2 feet in front of her with a gun in his hand, is what she said. She said that he asked him why he was doing this to her, and according to Pendleton, Douglas then, quote, put the gun to my head and said I better urinate on him or he was going to kill me.
Oh, my God.
What the fuck?
Gunpoint golden showers? That's nuts.
Gunpoint golden showers is a new one that we've never heard before. Piss on me or I'll shoot you is, I don't know if those words have ever been spoken in the English language before. Piss on me or I'll kill you. Has that ever been said before?
Nope. Unless somebody was on fire, right?
Fuck, man. Jesus Christ. She said that she was so nervous that she couldn't even
go
urinate. Yeah. No. He then forced her to give him a blowjob after that. So she testified, Pendleton, that she convinced him that she would help him in his plan to torture women and send photos to Canada where they would be bought. So that was her way of I can get out of this, but I'll help you out. Yeah, it's great. So then he gave her $50 and let her go. After she told him he was sick from the ether, she said, I don't feel good. That whatever you put up to me made me sick. So he was like, cool, here's $50. And she said she would contact him in a day or two, and then left the job, never talked to him again, basically hid from him.
He is trusting.
He's dumb. So during trial, he brings up alternate suspects here that he believes that, he's got a defense.
I've done my own investigation, and this is who I find.
Based on this, I found the real murderers. He's like OJ now.
Yeah.
He said shortly after they disappeared and early in the police investigation, Detective Grace, who was in charge of missing persons for the Anaheim Police Department, was notified by Mrs. Jones, Dana's mother, that she had received a phone call from a man who gave his name as George C. Beckett. Mm-hmm. Okay, gave his name as George as his first name. For some reason... Yeah, and like George Harris, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
He's running down the Beatles.
I don't know what it is, but for some reason, whenever criminals use fake names, they always pick one and always use that first name.
Yeah.
I guess it's so they'll respond to it or whatever. But so George right away to me is a red flag. And according to Mrs. Jones, this George Beckett telephoned her from a payphone in response to a flyer issued by the family for missing persons, to say that he had seen one or both of the victims on August 24th, 1982 at a truck stop in El Paso, Texas.
Yeah.
So nowhere fucking near where they actually were. Right. So this Mrs. Jones notified the detective of the phone call, and the detective noted the telephone number in the missing persons file, and the record reveals that that the officer called that number 5 times but never got an answer. Okay. So they tried to contact him back 5 times. According to the detective, a second caller, who identified herself as Sandy Marin, told the detective that she saw one of the missing girls at a discotheque in Orange County. Yeah. That was the language there. This woman told the detective that she frequented the disco every night, and she agreed to call the detective if she ever saw the girl again, and never heard from her again, apparently. Okay. So there were subsequent attempts by the police to contact these people, never came up. So now Douglas argues that locating both of these witnesses, these quote-unquote witnesses, who could be him, I think we did locate one of them at least, and you always have a woman who's willing to do your bidding, so any phone call, he says it's crucial to the case because all that connected the victims to the case was their identification made with dental charts. He says that because the precise time and date of the deaths were unknown, it's conceivable that these girls were killed by someone else after they were seen alive by the other two. Okay. They could have ran away. They went to El Paso. They came back. They went to a disco, and then someone killed them in the desert. I don't fucking know. That's his whole thing. He said that these witnesses, these, quote, potential witnesses, could completely and totally exonerate him by showing that they did not die at the time assigned by the prosecution and that Hernandez is a liar because it wasn't at that time either.
Okay.
Now, he also claims that the trial court excludes on hearsay grounds, and he's very upset about this, the testimony of Kruger's boyfriend.
Dave.
Margaret Kruger's boyfriend. Hemmer is his last name.
Is that George? George Davey?
No, it's just her boyfriend, not the guy who lives with them. Hemmer wanted to testify that several days after Margaret's disappearance, while Douglas and Hernandez were being interviewed at the police department, that Hemmer received a phone call from a man who identified himself as Doug.
Okay.
And the record shows that the defense counsel offered proof indicated that the caller asked about Kruger and then said, I think that's one of the chicks that went to Arizona with Beth. So that's the other thing there. So the counsel told the court that he was not offering the testimony to prove that Doug killed the victims, but rather than to substantiate the testimony that, they were fucking alive still, basically. So the court said it was hearsay, and no, you can't have that. So they said that the girls were in Arizona or went to Arizona at about this time when Mr. Douglas is accused of having taken them to the desert. So you know what? And the guy's name is Doug, and his last name is Douglas. So we're not going to put a lot of stock in that. Now, Hernandez, like we said, he is charged during this trial, by the way. He's charged with separate charges that have nothing to do with the murder.
What is he charged with?
They are conspiracy to smuggle heroin into jail.
Okay.
And possession of marijuana in jail.
That's not good.
So, no, it's not good at all. The counsel in the judge's chambers, counsel told the judge that he wanted to prove that Hernandez was, quote, this is defense counsel, quote, so much of a heroin addict and so much of an alcoholic that he, even when he's in jail waiting to testify, he wants to get loose. He wants to use heroin.
Get loose.
That's the quote. He wants to get loose.
Oh, God.
So they said that, anyway, he said that he has a history of cheating in school, a 20-year drug habit, past convictions for burglary, and he even lied to the Canadian police. How dare you lie to those Mounties, those fine Mounties. That's fucking amazing. They said that the record reveals that immediately following arrest, Hernandez lied to the police about his involvement in the illegal activity of smuggling heroin. So why is he going to lie to police then? Anybody's going to tell the truth here?
Right.
No. So they said that Hernandez was never offered immunity in connection with either of those things, and he lied. So that's what happens. On cross-examination, counsel for the defendant, they tried to impeach him as a habitual liar, a drug abuser, and question him regarding those charges. Hernandez took the fifth.
Really?
Though,
What? What about
on the drug charges?
Okay, got it.
Which doesn't look good for a guy who's your main witness. Right. That he's taking the fifth on anything looks bad.
Trying not to get incriminated anywhere.
Exactly. Defense counsel objected to his silence on the ground that it violated the right to confront and cross-examine a witness, but they said that that's what they're asking him doesn't have anything to do with the murder, so that doesn't count. Okay. You're splitting amendment hairs is what you're doing here. You're splitting Bill of Rights of hairs. And so they said the Hernandez to make a limited assertion of the Fifth Amendment privilege here. And so anyway, the defense asked that it be stricken from the record, and they said no. So they suggested alternatives. The prosecutor explained to the court that it was very reluctant to give Mr. Hernandez anything short of a prison term on these new charges, and it just doesn't seem like a good balance to put us in that position just in order so that counsel could do some cross-examining on what is clearly very collateral area here. So they're arguing about him smuggling heroin in, which really is minor compared to two girls being killed in the desert and buried.
Obviously, yeah.
So anyway, they end up letting him testify. Everything he said that I said earlier, that's all from him. So all of that is entered into the record, even him shitting. So everything else is accounted for. We did find a petrified log behind a bush. Do you know anything about that? Anything at all? So Kathy Phillips testifies over an objection. The objection is that, she has nothing to do with this. That's the thing here. Phillips said, quote, he wanted to take pictures of other women, take them out to the desert to make a snuff flick. He wanted to get bondage shots, homosexual scenes, and stuff like that. Okay. That's what she said on the stand. And she said that Phillips went for a ride with him and asked her if she wanted to make more money, and told her that he wanted to take some more pictures of women and take them out in the desert. And that's when he told her all about it. And Phillips also stated that he told her that he wanted to drug the girls for the photography sessions, quote, have sex with them and be really brutal about it.
Good Lord.
He said that he, quote, would just make a movie and it would be a lot of bondage and sadistic type things like that. In addition, he said that he had discussed burying bodies so they couldn't be discovered, and as we know about all of that shit. So the defense seems like a tough thing to defend here.
Yeah.
It's a tough one, but
what do you do? He doesn't even want mental health stuff included.
No, he won't even take that. He presents an alibi defense.
Yeah,
he just says, wasn't there. Wasn't me.
Prove I was there.
Don't know.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it. And they're like, yeah, we do. We have a lot of proof that you were there, but... Now, Henry Akers is his guy. He's known Douglas for about 10 years. He owned the furniture refinishing shop near Douglas's. He testifies that on the morning of the murders, he spoke to Douglas between 5 and 6:30. the same time Hernandez testified that he and Douglas were driving to the desert with the murder victims. Mm-hmm. So that's what he's saying. He said, I talked to him. Now, this is from 2 years ago, and he might have mixed his mornings up. I mean, that's the thing with witnesses. Yeah. Witnesses are the worst evidence. They just are, because people's...
Right. Remember what you did last Tuesday. Best of luck.
Yeah. People's brains are... Because in our minds, we see it. Right. We remember it. Yeah. But that's not what actually happened. No. You seeing it is in your mind. It's real, because it is real in your mind. But in reality, your mind just made it that way, so it's not real. So witnesses don't... They're terrible. They really fucking are.
And it's completely innocuous shit there's nothing that stands out, so why would you remember it so well?
That's what I'm saying. I assume that he probably sees him in the early mornings, probably a whole bunch if they both own these shops here. You know what I mean? It's probably happens a lot. Why would he know it's that day? So Donald Hemmer, who is Kruger's boyfriend, he also, like we said, he said that before the murders, she said she was going to visit friends, and after they disappeared, he confronted the roommate guy about a man named Douglas or Doug, and Hemmer stated that Lee described Doug as having dark hair and a beard and being in his late 30s, early 40s. Yeah. Well, shit, he must look good for his age, because he's fucking 50-something. So finally, Karen Bobby, who's an acquaintance of Margaret, stated that she thought she saw both victims at the Garden Grove Mall in September, which would be a month after the murders happened. Mm-hmm. That's his defense. This guy saw me at 5 a.m.
They were seen a month later, obviously.
They were seen a month later at the mall, and there's a dude named Doug out there somewhere.
Yeah.
And your last name is Douglas. So it's not wonderful. This Bobby said although she never met Jones, she became familiar with her picture from a missing persons flyer, so she thought she saw her in the mall.
Okay. That's not good.
Now, that's the other thing. Once something's on TV, or once you see another image, it completely corrupts anything you have in your brain, whether you think it... In your brain says, I know how to file this. Yeah. This goes here, that goes there. But that's not what your brain actually does. It just tells you that's what it's doing, because then it makes it easier for you to process it. It's your brain is a fucked up computer you have no control over.
And the picture that they flash, who knows if that even looks as close to you now? You know what I mean?
That's what I mean.
My picture in my driver's license, I look like an Aryan Brotherhood member in fucking prison. I don't look like that.
It does look like a prison ID.
It's pretty bad.
But it's just fucking it's so straight. Ted Bundy, people would literally see his picture with him there and go, that's not the guy I saw, because he just looked different at different times. So,
and when he's angry, that
guy
doesn't look like Ted Bundy.
No. So then there's jury instructions here. They said, following this, they said, all right, what I have done, ladies and gentlemen, with the consent of both the defense and prosecution, is pull those series of definitions and instructions I have here in my hand, and I intend to let you take them back in the jury room with you. But let me admonish you that, for example, you will see in this particular instruction that there's some redlined and also some down at the bottom, although it's not quite as clear from that distance. There's some black lined out material, and that occurs in a number of these instructions. You're not to consider all the lined out material. Don't read through it. Just flat out don't consider it. Just fucking completely white it out. What are you talking about?
You know that part down here? Don't look at that. Don't look at that.
Yeah.
I dare you not to look at it.
He said, once again, I'll admonish you not to read that which is lined out unless it says read it next to it.
God,
so there's that. So the verdict comes in here, and they find him guilty of everything, murder and conspiracy and you name it. He's guilty of it. So the state decides they're going for the death penalty on this one, because what he did is particularly scummy.
It is.
And if anybody, is probably not necessary on the earth, they're thinking maybe this guy. So the Jean Jones, who's the mother of one of them, obviously one of the victims, she said after the ruling and all this, she said she was glad it was over. They asked her if she thought that he'd be given the death penalty, and she said, quote, he will if I can do anything about it.
All right, Jean.
In other words, I'll kill that motherfucker if you let me. But so during the penalty phase, witnesses come, obviously. They hear a woman They have 3 incidents of prior criminal activity that the state introduces. A different woman for each one, explained in detail. McGetrick and Pendleton described in separate incidents about how he forced or frightened them into posing for nude photographs or performing sex acts with him in the desert. The third woman, Williams, testified that in 1977, this is the witness, Williams/Adams, testified that she participated in to make movies involving torture and killing of girls or women. And that was the case, obviously, that he got off on. And he presented testimony by various relatives and acquaintances regarding his good character, his nonviolent nature, and his background as an orphan and an abused child. Right. So in rebuttal, the people introduced evidence that his wife of 33 years, who, by the way, testified on his behalf, had lost contact with him before the murders were committed and had not seen him again until he was arrested and in custody.
Still married.
He ghosted his wife for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And then he was like, by the way, I'm arrested for killing a bunch of girls. What do you think of that?
You'd come around and testify about my great character, would you?
Please.
Yeah.
So his story here, at the penalty phase, he renewed his motion. He wanted to get rid of all the 1977 incident. He said that shouldn't be involved in the penalty phase. They shouldn't even know about that. He asserts that the court erred in allowing the jury to consider this evidence. He says it should have been excluded. They also enter into evidence I'll tell you in a second here, pictures of all the tools from the first arrest. Okay. They also the defendant notes that the prosecutor tells the jury that his age, 55, should be considered as an aggravating factor because this is a responsible, mature adult, ladies and gentlemen, someone who should know better, someone who is mature and who thinks in a mature and meaningful fashion. That's what he said. So that's an aggravator,
okay,
which is kind of weird there. I don't really like that one. Now, mitigating, when asked about his childhood, he reported all he would say is his parents are dead and his past was a blank to him. Couldn't remember it. According to an investigator, though, Douglas would not provide the names of relatives or friends regarding his childhood abuse. The investigators pursued other avenues, including his wife, son, friends, and neighbors. They tried to find that. His wife asserts that she did not even know she was testifying until the night before the penalty phase began. Wow. The mitigation evidence was pretty minimal. 2 witnesses testified that he had an aversion to the sight of blood, and several testified to his nonviolent nature in an attempt to focus on the, doubt there.
Yeah, but maybe he wasn't trying to fuck you.
Exactly. His family members testified in general terms that he'd been orphaned, had a difficult childhood, ran away from home to join the Marines, and they also said that he was very poor growing up and always kept large quantities of food in his home, apparently as a result of childhood deprivation. He always had he always has a stockpile now. Yeah. The prosecutor, in closing, said here that he said, quote, "You will get sympathy and pity type arguments. Like I said at the outset, this kind of case certainly shouldn't be decided on a basis of giving grades for oratorical speaking. It should be decided on what happened here, on what the factors are." He said, "Put yourself in the victim's shoes for a minute. That might be a little difficult since it's hard to think of doing something so stupid as to agree to go out to the desert and be photographed in the nude." Right. But he said, what huge offense that is. And then on top of it, who does this to a person's family? This is a tragedy, not just for the person you killed, but for the family and society. And in this case, the guy likes to deal with 2 victims at one time. We're not talking about one life and one family. We're talking about 2. Yeah. He called for the death sentence, saying, quote, what we see is years of development of an intense interest in violence and killing and violence connected with sex. That's his closing. Wow. Fred Douglas speaks. He says that he has a couple of things. He says that he didn't get a fair trial. The jurors only heard from one side because his lawyer screwed him and railroaded him. This is his plea for life. Then he says his last words are, quote, "This was the perfect frame-up from Rackauckus and Hernandez," from the DA and Hernandez. So the judge in the instructions said, "In your deliberation, you may consider pity, sympathy, and mercy for the defendant in deciding your appropriate penalty. However, you may not be governed by mere conjecture, prejudice, or public opinion." And that's what he says. So when it comes back and the judge is going to read the sentence, before he has a chance to do it, Douglas asks him if he had read his statement.
Yeah.
While in jail, Douglas started writing shitloads of letters, and one of the things he wrote was a 292-page statement.
That's called a manifesto.
It's a manifesto on why he wasn't guilty and why he was being screwed.
Wow.
He asked the judge before he's being sentenced, he goes, I bet you didn't even read what I sent you. And he said, quote, Mr. Douglas, I read every word.
Oh, boy.
Like that didn't help you any, basically.
Yeah.
So then Douglas had the balls to ask if the judge would send copies of it to the families of the two victims, please.
No, thank you.
The judge said, no, I'm good. I'm not going to do that. Then he called Douglas a sadistic and senseless killer who took teenagers' lives to gratify some weird sexual fantasy.
Yeah.
You, sir, may fuck off. Death in the gas chamber for you. So, goddamn.
Yeah.
He got it. So he goes to jail and he engaged in a prolific letter writing campaign to prove his innocence.
Oh,
He, from San Quentin's death row, he wrote the Los Angeles Times a bunch of times, referring to his railroad murder trial. He referred to the judges in the American court system as, quote, money-sucking parasitical leeches that don't give a damn about a man's complete innocence. Yeah. Wow.
You know, I bet if you read the letters from the Innocence Project people who they've actually exonerated, I'll bet none of them wrote letters like that.
292-page manifestos that they want the victims' families to read? Probably not.
And letters to judges calling them sadistic, blood-sucking
fucking monsters. Yeah. Sir, you're a vampire. Parasitical leeches that don't... Wow. Yeah. So in his appeal... Quickly, he says that items from the 1977 case were admitted: a saw, knives, cleaver, rope, tape, and women's underwear that were found in the desert under a tarp within a few feet of where he was. He said that shouldn't have been let in. They actually say that that it was. There's just an instruction they have to give with it, and they gave that instruction. Okay. To the jury, he said that there's no way they could have not known about him. And the court observed that there were 43 highly inflammatory newspaper articles about the 1977 arrest, but only 9 articles regarding the 1982 murders.
Really?
Only 9. Yeah. Think about when that is. California, 1982. Yeah. Think about all the fucking serial killers that are going on at that point. I mean, Jesus Christ. You got your Richard Ramirez's. The Hillside Stranglers are done, but that court case is going on. There's
Ed Kemper was
serial
huge.
murder. Serial murder is coming out of California's asshole at this point. They don't have time for this guy. That's what it is, honestly. That's why we've never heard of this guy. It's just the time period. His trial was going on. Yeah, his trial was going on during Richard Ramirez. God, it's not going to happen.
It's like as if he put out a podcast today. You'd never find it.
Never. No, gone. But in 85, you'd be the only one.
First one.
So no juror recalled having heard of the defendant prior to his trial. And one juror was excused for cause after she revealed to the court that she overheard people discussing the case at a dinner party that she had attended. So the defendant doesn't present any evidence that the jurors remembered him or knew about him or knew anything. Also, the appeal is on the coercive interrogation with Mexico, with Hernandez there. That's a problem. Kathy Phillips' testimony tended to prove logically, naturally, and by reasonable inference the existence of a contested issue, identity. He's trying to say that Kathy Phillips' testimony shouldn't have been let in because she didn't have anything to do with the murders, but they were identifying behavior and patterns of behavior. So that's how it was. He claims he wasn't present for some testimony because when he was out of the courtroom, a juror asked to have something. The jury asked for something, so something was given to the jury, and he wasn't there for it. Okay. So he's saying I wasn't there for testimony when it wasn't really testimony. And also the disproportionality of the sentence, which is a ballsy thing to fucking appeal for.
Disproportionality to what, murder or to of
the sentence to what he did.
Okay.
He claims the court erroneously failed to instruct the jury that a grant of immunity to Hernandez could be considered by the jury as a reason for not imposing death. He also asserts that because Hernandez harbored an intent to kill when he acted as an accomplice, the defendant's sentence is arbitrary and disproportionate under the Eighth Amendment.
Okay.
That's a decent argument. Yeah. They said, the court, though, says, quote, "We find these contentions meritless. He was found guilty. He can fuck off."
Okay.
They literally said everything besides fuck off.
Yeah.
So that was all the way up to 1992 when his state appeals are all used up.
Okay.
So he has to go to the federal system. Finally, 2003, he's the second oldest person on California's death row.
Yeah.
He's 74. There's 617 people on death row in California because they've been collecting them since the 70s. And he's the second oldest.
Wow.
Yeah, the oldest one is Raymond Johns, who was 78, who strangled his wife. What? His wife and his girl. Oh, his wife in 1980, then his girlfriend in 1989. I thought he strangled them both at the same time. I was like, how'd he pull that off?
His wife and girlfriend.
They were like,
James,
they were both yelling at him.
He dates his wife still. He's a great guy.
It's very nice. They said at this point he's there. The ruling here is that he did not receive competent representation during his trial. This is the U.S. Court of Appeals. His attorneys, they said, failed to investigate and tell the jury about his abusive childhood, his mental health, and actions as a Marine in helping save 2 sailors from drowning. They said that might have mitigated the whole thing. That evidence may have persuaded at least one juror to spare his life, which is all he needed. Yeah. That's a 3-judge panel said that. They said they said that the ruling allows a new penalty trial to decide whether he can be sentenced to death again or life. But a defense lawyer says they doubt they're going to do that again. He's 74 and he's on death row, so they'll probably just let him die there. He said, based on his age and the evidence that wasn't presented, I think it would be very difficult to get a death penalty at this point. Probably. Mm-hmm. Economically, a retrial makes no sense, is what they said. That's what the state says. And the jurors never heard that he was locked in a closet or any of that shit. And the judge, though, said the gruesome nature of the killing did not necessarily mean the death penalty was unavoidable. You, sir, may stay in prison. I cannot find if he's alive or dead, but he would be 92 if he was alive.
He's dead as fuck, James.
Yeah, most people aren't going to live to be 92 in prison.
He's got to be gone.
So he's probably dead by now, but that was 2003. Wow. So at some point in the last 20 years, he had to have died, but I could not find like a death notice for him at all.
Wild. He stayed on death row the whole time?
Yeah, he was on death row. Wow. I think they let him off death row after that,
right.
You know, for who cares? On eBay, I found a Master Detective magazine from June 1985 that tells all about his story here. Basically, it's about it has a thing about how they caught him and all that kind of shit.
Master Detective.
It's on eBay. A Master Detective magazine, June 85, and it's $16.18 with free shipping. Yeah. So there's that. That, everybody, is Borrego Springs, California, and one of the most bonkers cases we've ever had. Right,
James? There's so many more bodies out there.
That's what I mean. You tell me that's the first time he pulled off killing when he's been asking people to do this since 1976?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
He's done it by himself before he invited others. You know what I mean? You got to tread those waters.
There's no way.
Yeah.
There's no fucking way he didn't do this before.
Holy
shit. Creepy as shit. And, if you like that story, what a weird segue, but if you did, or you like the way we told it at least, get on Apple Podcasts, give us 5 stars on that purple icon. It does help a lot driving us up the charts, so thank you if you've done that. Head over to shutupandgivememurder.com right now. Get everything for Small Town Murder, all your merchandise, all of your crime and sports stuff, all of your gear, your tickets to live shows if they happen, hopefully, fingers crossed, as hard as we possibly can. If they happen, we'll be happy to do them. So please get your tickets to them. A lot of them are sold out or selling out quickly. So hurry up and get on that if you do want to get those tickets to that. Follow us on social media. We are at Murder Small on Twitter, at Small Town Pod on Facebook, at Small Town Murder on Instagram. Also, listen to our other shows on the Upside Down Digital Network, Life After Happy Face on Fridays, Game of Crimes on Mondays.
They're doing
great shows. And they're really starting to. They're getting really good. I'm just really excited about them. So they're doing a great job, everybody. So check those out. Patreon.com/crime and sports is where the good stuff is. Bonus materials, and we have so much crazy good stuff on there. anybody over the $5 level gets, or at the 5 or above the 5 gets not only all of the small town murder bonus, all the crime and sports bonus, any bonus you can possibly get. This week's, which the ones we just put up are amazing. Crime and sports is off-field injuries. So people that, people got bit by coyotes and shit.
Living reckless lives with big contracts. Why would you?
Yeah, it is hilarious. Has nothing to do with sports because it's just all people hurting themselves off the field. Somebody stabbed themselves opening a DVD. Do you understand that? Trying to cut the plastic off a DVD, they stabbed themselves in the stomach. Find out what movie caused a professional athlete to stab themselves.
Find out who has pet coyotes.
Yes, that's the other thing. And then for Small Town Murders, we did a hilarious episode on murders that happened in Florida and just general Florida craziness. There's alligators involved.
Florida fuckery
it's crazy.
as far as the eye can see.
It's insanity. So check that out. Patreon.com/crime and sports is where you get it all. And you'll even get a shout out at the end of the show, which is coming up very shortly here, where Jimmy will try his best to say your name correctly and probably not succeed.
Right.
But he'll try. Yeah. So that's the important part. So you do all of that. Like we said, patreon.com/crime and sports. Or if you just want to get a nice shout out and our undying affection, you can do that over at PayPal using our email address, crimeandsports@gmail.com. Jimmy, yeah. I need it.
Oh, boy.
I need it.
Yeah.
The list of the people, our favorite goddamn people who make this show possible. Jimmy, hit me with the list immediately.
This week's executive producers are, this week's executive CEO of the company is Clay Thorson. Thank you, Clay.
Oh, thank you, Clay. You're the best, man.
You're a sweetheart. I can't tell you
Clay.
how much I appreciate you, truly.
He has been down with us forever, and we fucking love you, Clay. Thank you so much.
And he donated under a name of Dixon Diaz. Are you proud of yourself, Clay? That's not bad.
We'll give you that one, Clay.
For the effort, that was not bad. Not bad at all. Other executives this week, again, Jordan Bennett doing everything for us that she's ever not. She's the best.
We love her and Simon are awesome people. Thank you, guys.
Nadine Ozubko, Angela Williams, Atreyu Falkor. I think, is that?
That's our both never-ending story
I thought so.
Reference, yeah.
James Fogel and Lauren Hoffman. You guys, thank you truly for what you do for us. You're
best,
incredible.
all of you.
Other producers this week are Neil Page, Allison Fearful, and Gabe Sullivan. They are a couple. And James Gaybauer, Christopher Foyer, Janice Hill, Madison Rave Hall. What is that? Madison Ray Hall, and she's pregnant, and the baby kicks when she listens to the show. So,
congrats.
Clearly, are pregnant with either a demon or a great child.
A good taste child.
One of the two. Maria Kip Sousley, Jennifer Visconti, that's Steve Schnell, not Jennifer at all. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you.
Stevie.
Susanna Platt, Liz Vasquez. Thank you, Liz. And Liz sent you the homicide book, and it's signed.
Thank you.
Unbelievable.
That's beautiful. It's up in the office right here in our studio. We fucking love that. Thank you so much.
Liz.
It's awesome.
Terrific.
Appreciate it.
Richard Johnson, Tarnia Goodsell, her fluffy kitties, TK and Posh Rob, Peyton Meadows, Thomas Smith, James Martyr, Craig Ventura, Michelle Mixell, Dave Thomas at the Ghostwriter podcast is dealing with a cancer fight in the middle of a fucking pandemic. I can't imagine. Keep fighting,
miserable.
Dave.
Sorry
Hang in there,
that.
buddy.
Shit, that's miserable. Man.
Also, Mark's Marvelous, Tommy, Amy Griffith, Kylie, Bryn Sanders, Emma Pilo, John Burnett, Matt Watson, Melinda Hollingshead, Corey Knox, Jesus, or Jesus. It's probably Jesus.
It's just Jesus.
Ryan John, Nicole Stanford, Ty Bow, David Higgins, Ernesto Gonzalez Falcone, Brent, nope, that's Gregory Borelli, Kyle with no last name, Trenton Boak, Kristen Morris, Aaron Aldrich, Alan McLaren, Brad Croak, Eric Burdick, Kevin Morris, Devin Dotson.
Hey.
Samantha George, Kennedy Watring, Cooper Lynn, Mallory Bradenberg, Troy Williams, Aaron Booza, Michael Haynes, Matt Torres. I think it was just Matt Torrent. No, Mike Haynes.
There you go.
God damn it. Matt Tompkins, Vanessa Northcutt, Jake Duvall, Brad Newbert, Dan Bailey, Mike Parker, Elizabeth Hubert, Vanilla Nutsack, proud of yourself, Emma Tyrell, Jojo Ama, Brian Kaiser, Jessica Edwards, Kelly Pelletier. Hey.
Nice.
Brad Johnson, Zachary Coyne, Tom V, Heather Ferris, Alicia Elbert, Nicole with no last name, Jeremy Samdahl, Keith with no last name, Sin AK, Matthew Nations, Stephanie Brink, Cecily Moreno, Brandon Bennett, Jessica Rideout, Jake Herndon, Big Pappy Pump. What? Sean Kent, Lisa
variant.
Yeah, or that could be a rapper, James.
That's true.
Lisa Mariotti, Moritz Schmidt, Thomas Mason, Byron Webb, David Stewart, Chicks. What is this? Chicksy, the what? Chixie, the Bin Chicken, and Dutchie. Al C. Garcia. Say again.
I said thank you.
Yeah, truly. Mia Rowe. I'm not sure. Bridget Karen, Nicholas Warnecki, Marin Herkim. These are all tough, James. Pete Sanok, Michael Black, Shane Shalick, Joe Downing, Susan Ellis, Mills, that's Mills, Lisa Eaton, Jude Doyle, Tyler Taylor, Blodell.
We could have a lot of Johnsons and like Taylors and Tuckers and like Thomases donating. That'd be much easier on Jimmy.
Andre Sandoval, Derek Caldwell, Sean Newton, Taylor White, Kat Lamadori, Peter Hudisek, Katie DeJarnes. What is happening?
You're a mess.
Aaron Vaughn, Michael Schmidt. Nope, that's Smith. Byron Allen, Casey, Schmidt, Smith. It doesn't matter what the name is.
Still mess it up.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Case and Merrill, Brandon Wickham, Dustin Barton, Izzy Day, Gabby O'Neill, Ronnie Bailey, Cameron Star 4, Claudia DaCosta, Lisa Osborne, Anthony McKenzie, Mighty Dad, Andrew with no last name, Daniel Malik, Jenny Harvey, Jacob Callagher, oh boy, Brian Call, Priyaniki, what? Priyanka Kornapillalacker. Chelsea Guest, Gerstenhofer, Krista D'Antonono. What? D'Antono.
D'Antonio?
No, there's no I.
D'Antono?
Anteno. Antono. Natalie LeGrand, Cynthia Donson, Nicholas Thomas, Brooke Dickey, Melissa Newmeyer, Rena Hampton, Matt Leo, Amy Stottlemyre, Hillary with no last name, Randy Combs, Josh Cable, Liz Stallaheber. Oh, boy. Caleb Grace, Elizabeth Colleran, Stephen Cook,
Elizabeth Cholera? No.
Jenna Black, then Martin Tanya Ortiz, Britt Vogel, Sophie, that's Sophie Rodriguez, Brian Murphy Kern, Will Blaine, Kim Hensley, Dan Hanrahan, Benjamin Ressler, Dave Short, Chris Collins, Mika with no last name, Andre Archuleta, Sakubi Like It Hot, Jacob Miranda, Kate Westerhout, Valerie Grenier, Casey Ostrander, Karen with no last name, Eddie Pinhead, Matt Mate, Sir Maze, what? Never gonna happen. Taylor Nelson, Jordan with no last name, Debbie Schmidt, Zoe Erickson, Mr. Slim, Todd Clement, Darren Foreman, Jim Gaybauer, Leslie Leatherwood, Rachel Peebles, Melissa Plath, Natalie Weiss, Christy Pauley, Miranda Mers, Chris McFall, Amanda Grimes, Amanda Lord, Sam Borston, Liddy with no last name, James Sweeten, Abraham Nebjen, Stephanie Matlock, Jeff Keene, Stephen Will Hoyt, boy oh boy, Jennifer Jasper, Courtney with no last name, Melissa Lundell, Tracy Puracini, Shay Nope. Tyre Bjorn Bracken Hugen, Brandon Hamlin, Ryan Frost, John Schiffer, Matthew Sweeney, Alana, Pete Luani, Chad Walden, Tara with no last name, Katie DeMario, Lisa Andrews, Jordan with no last name, Jason Cole, and Chris Smith, and obviously all of our patrons. You guys are terrific, and we can't thank you enough. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So thank you, everybody, for all that you do for us and for allowing us to do the show that we want to do, because we can do it for you, and we don't really give a shit what advertisers say, because we get to do the show for you, and that's because of all the people that do that magical Patreon shit or that magical PayPal shit, and just make our lives completely better. And Jimmy, how can someone get a hold of you to tell you that you've either ruined their life or made it better? How can they tell you?
You can find me on the internet, and a lot of people have lately telling me that they're enjoying Patreon, and that stuff really, those words mean so much to us and so much to me specifically. My head's a goddamn mess, especially in a pandemic. And at Whisman Sucks, WHISMAN Sucks, on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you guys for being a part of this. You're tremendous. Where can they find you, James?
I'm at Jimmy P is funny, or you can just copy or paste my last name from the show description, or you can just Google Small Town Murder Hosts, and we'll pop up, and they'll probably links to everything. You don't even have to look up stuff. It's easier. Do all of that and keep coming back every single week. The stories aren't going to get any less crazy, so we'll be here. Will you be? Let's hope so. Until next week, everybody, it's been our pleasure.
Bye.
If you like Small Town Murder, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this White Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. I'm going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles,
a big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud,
sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.